Hello, welcome to Reinventing the Tattoo. It's the start of another week. This is Sunday, and we have a Reinventing drawing group with Jason Leeser. If you are an artist, feel free to go to the Reinventing the Tattoo community and find the Zoom link to join us. If you hit either of the app stores, then you can download Reinventing the Tattoo or surf straight to community.reinventingthetattoo.com. And I want to make sure that this is working. We have a new Reinventing the Tattoo channel. So if you're on YouTube, please go to Reinventing the Tattoo and subscribe. It looks like it is working on the other channels. I don't have Facebook fired up here, but presuming that that is working, let me share my screen and show you some of the other upcoming events. This is a pretty amazing community. We have, hundreds and hundreds, actually over 1,000 artists that are all here strictly to inspire each other to share tattoos and art and good times. And it's pretty sick. The cornerstone of the Reinventing community are these live streams like this. And let's talk about some of the other ones we have coming up. Monday morning at 9 o'clock, we have another drawing group with Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network. Mondays at noon, we have Let's Talk Tattoo with Mark from Needlejig. This Monday, we've got James Gaithier from Adina talking about protective gloves, and it's pretty crazy time for gloves. If you have any questions about prices or any of that, every noon on Monday, Mark's doing something from Needlejig. We've got Tuesdays at 10 a.m. is how to build a Paul Rogers style prefab tattoo machine with Tony Urbanic. There are 2-hour webinars, 1.5 to 2-hour webinars, and it's never too late to do it. You will get the ingredient list, and you will watch Tony build a machine. You'll work along with Tony and build your own prefab style machine mostly with hand tools. Every once in a while he's like, "Oh man, I got the power tool right there, but we're doing this one raw dog. We're gonna fucking file it down by hand." It's absolutely brilliant. So every Tuesday at 10, we're doing them live for the next couple of weeks, but those replays are always available. Reinventingthetattoo.com/build a tattoo machine. Okay, at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, we've got an art jam with Brad Wooten, who has a pretty sick new Tattoo Smart brush set. And if you have it, it'll be awesome to come and do an art jam with us. If you could just bring anything, it's going to be a fun art jam. Tuesday at 2 o'clock. On Wednesday at noon, I'm going to be starting up my Tattoo Now business plans, do a little bit of an outline with Q&A in preparation for the new Reinventing the Tattoo business course, which will be available very soon. Let's see, we've got Live in the Castro with Haley Adams. This week's guest is Brittany Abed. This is Live in the Castro, straight from the heart of San Francisco. Haley is doing some amazing interviews. Tattoo Collecting Podcast, 12 noon every Thursday. And Jordan Ruckus and Fawn Baker interview amazing tattoo collectors every week when we get the tattoo photos. It's out of fucking control. Let's see, we have Monday, February 22nd. We've got Paint Jams with Renee. Every Monday at 9 o'clock at night, we have exclusive exercises, group exercises with Guy Aitchison, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Those are for subscribers. What else? We have actually art jams in Italian the first Wednesday of the month. We have Spanish art jams. We're talking to Turiansky about doing a Russian one, maybe doing one in Indian. Let's see. As you can tell, we have a month's worth of events lined up here. The live conventions, it's kind of crazy, but we do have one booked in November. We will, vaccine and quarantine travel pending. The International Brussels Tattoo Convention's happening on November 12th to the 14th, I believe. And we'll be there doing art jams, seminars. It's going to be a good time. You could find all of the replays for all of these shows right here in the library, and go to the videos, and you can check this out. It's got all of the in-house series. This is Guy Aitchison generally leading either interviews or discussion panels. We've got the Tattoo Collecting Podcast, the drawing groups, art jams, Let's Talk Tattoo, the history of tattoo conventions. Alex Van Dutch from World Tattoo Events has been interviewing unbelievable historical tattoo convention promoters. We do actually have another drunk critique coming up in the future, and a 9-hour replay. It's out of control. Anyways, so this library does have all of the replays, virtual tattoo gatherings, a great wealth of information there. And yeah, there is also spots here, of course, to drop off your tattoos and original artwork. It's a pretty awesome community that's growing. And again, it's all about inspiring each other, educating each other, live events. We want to thank our sponsors, Inkjet Stencils. You can check out some videos they have. Andre Malcolm's printing out full-on back pieces. There is a webinar in here, digital editing for inkjet stencils, as well as instructions here on how to have 5 samples sent to you, so you could try it out without having to buy the printer. It's pretty sick. Then we want to also make sure that before we get started, and we're going to very soon, we direct you to courses.reinventing the tattoo, and this is where you can find the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, which is Guy Aitchison's mastermind. He brings in all sorts of guest artists and whatnot, but this is well over 20 years of his lessons learned the hard way, the easy way, all the lessons. It's got everything's getting updated. He just went through the first 3 or 4 sections. It's pretty out of control. There's a full webinar library here, and every Monday there are group exercises. So you can tune in Monday at 9 o'clock as a subscriber and get exclusive access to work with Guy. It's amazing, and there are free lessons. So if you check it out and you want to try out a free seminar or two, you can do so. Other webinars that we have here, Bob Tyrrell's 11-hour epic. So maybe 5 or 6 years old, but it goes through the whole thing. If you can't sit through it, then you definitely can't do it. Got BJ Betts, some biomech stuff. These are some of the older webinars. This is where you'll find the Reinventing the Tattoo Business. Lady Sarah's webinar is pretty sick. Anyways, I am now going to be melting into the back. Well, we'll chat a little bit about other featured members and whatnot in the future. For now, I'm going to drift in the background. If you are in the chat rooms, let us know how this is working for you and maybe where you're beaming in from. If you're drawing, like I said, go to community.reinventingthetattoo.com and join, or either of the app stores and download, and go to the events section. You'll find the links to join us. I want to thank Jason Leeser for hosting these every Sunday at 1 o'clock. And yeah, last plug for the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, because it's brand spanking new. We literally just started. It's a 25-year-old project. We've been doing videos for practically 15 years here, and Guys edits and has editors. Anyways, we have the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel. Check it out. Please share it with your friends. Like I said, it's brand spanking new. And okay, I'm going to hop into the background. We have a couple people on already. And thanks again.
Thanks a lot, guys. Welcome back. It's another Sunday drawing group. Got Ricardo and Bruno in here with me. Guys, as always, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a very productive week this week. I know I did. Got a lot of things accomplished. I'm just going to be working on this scorpion exercise for that's due tomorrow night for the reinventing class. Was going through, I was having a little bit of difficulty with just like contrast and layout. Think I got some of it figured out. And then of course, attention problems, got distracted and ended up working on like 6 other projects over the course of the past few days. So I'm just going to be going through and doodling on this guy today, just working on this, trying to finish it up. Need to add a bit more texture to the scorpion. I think I'm probably going to end up leaving these little succulents over on the sides. And
Nice.
tiny one in the back. Probably just leave that alone. Obviously, I have to add color to that, but no, I don't really think I'm going to end up doing too much more to it. It was kind of difficult to get this like root system involved, just because it's pretty close to white. There's not really too much there except for like the super dark, like little nooks and crannies, as you can see. Like there's a bit of like barkish texture, but since I always start out with like a medium gray tone for my background anyway, it's kind of tricky to like balance that out and make that really come forward. So I
Right.
think I may just go through and exaggerate it with like some light tans, maybe some browns. But
Yeah, yeah. How's it going, guys? Jason, Ricardo, Gabe.
what's going on? What's going on?
Fantastic.
How's it going, man? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Mhm.
Yes, same man. Taking on this exercise with the priority exercise, and yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, they all have, you know, something tricky to them, right? But this one, the root system is definitely an intricate one, and the colors are a challenge, right? Um, but I'm enjoying the challenge. I mean, it's taking me a little little longer than I wanted, but it's an interesting challenge. I really like where you got your exercise at, Jason. That's pretty badass, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to. So I didn't. I noticed a lot of people in last Monday's group really putting a lot of emphasis on the root system. Um, I kind of wanted to downplay that and keep that more as like a background element, maybe looking like it has the scorpion like walking over top of that root system. Which,
Right.
in all honesty, like if we really look at this from a logical perspective,
Right.
if I were to go through and have the scorpion on an actual like root system like this, it would probably only be about yay big. And that's not a very interesting like background. You
True.
always want to try to have more of a dynamic background, especially when you've got a couple of prominent things in the foreground. You always kind of want to have like a little bit more of a busy kind of background just to draw the eye up and really complement those structures. So I was trying to kind of do more of like a zoomed out, even further zoomed out than this, to kind of exaggerate the size and the scale of the scorpion itself.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I like that a lot.
it's tricky. It's like, okay, well, obviously I have a lot of really super dark, deep blacks here in this root system, but I can't really do too much of that in this because then it's going to eliminate my cast shadow that I'm getting from the scorpion itself. So how do I want to go through and show the depth here without necessarily compromising any of the lighting or
Right.
like cast
Yeah,
shadows coming from the scorpion itself.
sure, sure. Yeah,
Um,
that's an interesting question right there. That's like a challenging situation where I feel like maybe just enough, right, of a hint of that like dark tone that like without like quite competing with the scorpion, right? But considering that the roots are also in like the foreground, um eh, in order to catch that like depth that they have, right? Like at least like a little hint of that darkness. I'm guessing that could separate like the foreground roots and the background roots, right? But I love the way that you completely separated the background from the foreground by just keeping everything so out of focus like that. Like very effective, very readable. Like it's pleasant.
well, that's something that I personally always try to like, focus on is what's the readability of the design? Can I tell what it is from a decent distance away? A lot of people don't necessarily like to look at things in that way just because it's like, oh, well, then I can't cram everything that I want into this tattoo. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the whole point. Like, you
Right.
want to keep it legible, you want to keep it definable, and you want to be able to see all the little nooks and crannies and everything. But unfortunately, to do that and have it last, you got to blow it up to be a certain size. At least that's the running theory. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of micro stuff done, especially a lot of people coming out of South Korea are just absolutely destroying micro detail, and it is incredible what they can do. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how they're executing it, but they're doing it flawlessly. So it's like, okay, well, there goes that concept of, oh, well, if you want to get all this detail, you got to make it super huge.
Yeah, right. Well, the thing is, man, that I actually personally have, a lot of experience with doing like very small tattoos because I feel comfortable with like very fine lines, very thin needles, like 0.20, 0.25, like three liners.
Wow, man.
I like to work with them sometimes, not all the time, right? But I do have some clients that enjoy those like very small, like miniature, very detailed pieces, right? And because I felt comfortable, I did them, and things were going really, really well. Like, they were coming out great, and they healed well. But I could already tell, even though it hasn't been, more than a year, like I could already tell how, even though it was like it was very sharp and it was very um, readable and everything, I could already see how, just because it's all done in such a small space, how over time, that's inevitably gonna change. And I think that's the thing about that. I think that's what makes going for bigger pieces, a better option, a better alternative, I think, than very intricate, tiny tattoos, right? Because they're doable, but the thing is, how are they gonna last, after a few years, and
Right.
and that's what's turning me off a little bit from continuing to do them so often.
Well, you mentioned you were working with 0.20 millimeter pins, man. That's like a
uh
whole new level of like, I can't wrap my mind around that kind of
yeah,
small. Like that's cosmetic grade. That's
yeah,
not
it's a
even like standard tattoo grade.
yeah, I ran into it by mistake because I didn't remember what my buddy was recommending. He was recommending that I buy the 0.25 three liner from FYT.
Right, right.
Because we've worked together for a while, and we kind of like to use the same like tight liner, and so I couldn't remember if it was 0.25 or 0.20. So I ended up buying the 0.20, and it just seems to be like your best alternative if you're looking to use something as tight as a one liner. Like I've experimented with a one liner and it's never gone well, but I feel like this 0.20 will give you the result that you're probably looking for with a one liner, but in a more easy, it's so much easier to use, I'm sure, than a one liner because it has the three needles that hold the ink a little bit more. And
Right. And it
you
can
got to run
create
it,
better capillary action.
exactly. Yeah. And you have to run it a little, the intensity a little lower. You got to measure that depending on your machine, obviously. But yeah, man, like I had some fun with those lines, but it's an extreme situation. They're very, very fine line. And I obviously had to get the 0.25 because that's what I wanted. And so sometimes, very rarely, if I want to exaggerate the detail in the linear sense, and like have different volume lines, that's when I'll pull out a 0.20 and do a couple like super fine lines somewhere, but it's not very common that I use them.
Yeah,
But they're
like
there,
I've messed around with the 0.25 bug pins quite a bit. I actually used to use only those for everything. Solid color, black and gray. I never really got into them for line work just because to me it was almost like if I'm laying down a solid line, I would want something a little bit bigger,
Yeah,
just to like be efficient and quick with it, just to get it done.
exactly.
Um, so I didn't really go that far into it, but for all of my mags at one point in time, they were all 0.25.
Hmm.
And the reason why is because you're causing so little trauma to the skin that the healing that you get from it is just incredible. I mean, I had people coming back after 3 days that were fully healed. Like
Damn.
they weren't waxy at all. They had shed within the first 2 days. And then, through keeping an eye on it and moisturizing, they were almost fully healed by day. Well, actually, so let me rephrase. They were almost completely healed by day 5. At day 3, they had already started and almost finished shedding, which is awesome because that's just dead skin coming off from the healing process. Um, it was absolutely incredible. And the color that I was putting in was super solid, almost to the point that I didn't like it for color because you couldn't really blend that well with it. And if you were working with anything even remotely thick, it was a nightmare to get in. So you really had to stick to a lot of those thinner pigments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I love the healing process
Interesting.
on them.
That is pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, when you think about it like this, right? I had someone explain it to me before, kind of in this way. They said, imagine this. Imagine you have your standard 10 penny nail, right? Pretty big nail. Puts it, it's meant for, really putting up a lot of stuff, really doing a lot of rough framing, a lot of really large work. You're going to use that to hold a couple of 4x4 beams together, you know, and then you have, your standard finishing nail, right? And then you've got like a sewing needle. So yes, in one aspect, the bigger one's it's gonna go through and it's gonna be able to put in more at any given time. But if you pull that nail out, look at the size of the hole that it's making. That hole is now something your body has to heal. Which is your body going to heal faster? If someone puts a nail through your hand or if someone puts a sewing needle in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just the healing factor alone was great. That, and if you look at it, such as you're increasing the DPI on a printer, let's say, you can go through and you can get a higher resolution with a higher DPI. More dots per inch equals a much more clear image, which equals, a lot more clarity and a lot more color per square inch. However, what people don't factor in is that it generally takes a little bit more time and a little bit of a different technique in order to get that to work appropriately. And that's just coming from my own, perspective on it. There are people out there that may debate that with me, and I'm always up for debates. And just discussing different topics. But that's
Did-
kind of what I've picked up over time is you can do that for color and black and gray, and you can use the liners. The liners you have to size down like 2 or 3 sizes if you're going to go down to those, just because if you get a 7 liner that's 0.25, it is not the same width as your standard 0.35 7 liner. So you have to kind of figure out what line weight actually works the best, and is comparable to achieve the size of the line that you want to put in.
Mm-hmm.
That was always tricky. That was always like the real trick was, okay, I need to do this line, this size, which grouping do I need to use in order to achieve that?
And did you say that you were having a little more trouble with the thicker pigment colors with these bug pins?
Yes.
That's like the one
So
disadvantage.
the particles in those thicker pigments, from what I understand, are a bit bigger. And so you really have to take your time and kind of work them in.
Sure.
Whereas if you're using something a little bit thinner, something that might not have, not that it's not as pigmented, but maybe they don't have a lot of extra filler in there to make it thicker. Those went in like a dream come true. Just for example, and I'm not trying to like, push any one brand or another, but from my own experiences, if I was using Eternal was a nightmare to put in with 0.25 bug pins.
Mm-hmm.
An absolute nightmare. But if I used the same color but from Fusion, that went in like a dream come true.
No way.
It's just same base pigments, right?
Right.
But there's an obvious viscosity difference between the two brands.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
I just went through and said, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this, and it needs to be like this. But I
Right.
can use this, and maybe if I'm using Eternal, if that's all I have, then, or maybe it's a very unique color that only Eternal puts out. Well, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, okay, well, now I've got to thin things out a little bit, maybe add like a drop or two of water to each cap, and then
Right.
eventually I'm going to have to go over it a little bit more and, hit the spot again just to get the same kind of, just to get the same amount of coverage and the same amount of pigmentation in the skin.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I've never really used, I mean, when I first started tattooing, we were using like single liners and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But man, it's been so long since I've used anything that little, that small in diameter that it's, I wouldn't even know where to start. Now I'd be like, do I run my machine slower? Do I run it faster? I mean,
Right.
how often am I going back and forth between the ink cap and the machine and the skin and stuff? You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty crazy. It was a different game, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
singles are
Yeah.
another level of skill that
Entirely.
I don't even want to get near them.
No, man.
I've used them a
Likewise.
couple of times, but they scare me. They really,
Yeah.
really do.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not necessarily easier to use, like
Mhm.
I really like them because I like to get those fine lines, like I like a needle that is super fine that I can work with, and that 0.25 3-liner became that. But it's definitely more difficult to use. Like recently I've switched to a hella fine from Black Claw.
Mhm.
I'm using like a hella fine 7, or I'm thinking about getting the 5s, but those are going to be fine enough that I can get very similar results to what that 3 with the 0.25 is going to get me. And I can tattoo more comfortably. Like, for example, with the 0.25, I have to be way more careful with the pressure and with those type of things versus with the hella fine in this case, that is, the needles are not as thin, and so I can, like, more confidently put a little bit more pressure into it and therefore go faster. So I see myself using those 0.25s less and less since I've discovered these.
Well, so you brought up the hella fine liners from Black Claw.
Yeah.
Those are actually 0.25 pins.
Oh, okay. So maybe the biggest difference is the 7, the alignment of 7 needles, and I think
Right.
that's what allows me to be more worry free of like getting a blowout, or like having to be too careful that it slows me down with how much pressure I put, and I think that that's the disadvantage, I guess, of using such a fine needle like 3. So I was suspicious that maybe they were 0.25 as I was sharing that with you guys, but I guess it must be the alignment of the 7 needles that makes a difference.
So what I picked up on is that, so Black Claw, for anyone out there that's watching that might not know this about Black Claw, from what I understand, Black Claw was developed by Grime out in California and Seth Safari,
Mm-hmm.
two of which are, household names in tattooing. These guys have been doing it for longer than I think I've been alive.
Yep.
They are masters of their craft. Seth Safari is a master machine builder. Like, he is someone that if you build coil machines, or if you know about coils, or you still use coils, there's a pretty good chance you have one of his machines in your collection. They are known and tried and true and time tested machines. Well, they got together and they decided to put out something that was a bit more akin to, more of an old school configuration, a little bit looser pin groupings,
Mm-hmm.
but still offering all the standard sizes, because they missed out on having those like handmade needle on bar feel. Well, they started to realize that, hey, most people are moving over to cartridges. Let's get on board with that and see what we can do to improve that game. and they have just like, I almost don't use any other brands. I'll try some others out every now and then and just like get a feel for them and just give them like a little bit of a review. But if I pull open my needle drawer, it's just row upon row of different types of Black Claw cartridges. They're just that good.
Hey, Jason, Guy here. If
Hey,
you don't
Guy.
mind me asking a few specific questions about that, because
Yeah.
I haven't actually had a chance to try out the Black Claw cartridges yet. But I think the thing that first would pop into my mind would be the I don't know the terminology for the different parts of the cartridge, but the actual tip, right? The plastic part that the and that this is something I find a lot of companies get right with certain groups, but not all of them. And it's really been one of my big issues with cartridges in general is, you know, for example, you'll end up getting a Magnum tip that just feels so much wider than the actual needle group. And so it's like you're maneuvering this big vehicle down a narrow alley when in fact the needle group is only half the width of the shovel tip, right?
Right.
And the shape of those tips as well tend to be, I don't know, they don't taper nicely. There's just extra plastic, right? So I guess that would be my first question, is if they seem to have resolved some of that.
In my opinion, yes. In fact, like I said, I'm a huge advocate of them. I've never had a wobbly needle at all. Every one of their mags seems perfectly fitted just for that tip. You know, there's no wiggle side to side at all. There's no obvious bouncing up and down. They are very nice to use. It seems like they just went for pure efficiency, and you know, they're amazing. Give them a shot.
I have to
Maybe you
agree
can see some
completely.
things that I don't. So
I think that, yeah, like when I was talking to Chris from Cheyenne about creating new cartridges, and I don't know if this is standard or if it's just because of the people they're working with, but every time they wanted to create a new cartridge, to create the mold for the prototype was about 30,000 euros.
right.
Right.
Dang.
And so because of that, they tend to create a tip that is then going to be used for a dozen different needle groups that are all relatively compatible with it.
Right. You know,
So,
such as, you know, if you create a 9 mag tip, you can use it for standard number 12 nines. You can use it for bug pin 11s. From what I understand, Black Claw actually went through and had each individual tip mold made just for that grouping. Once again, I could be wrong on that, but it certainly feels that way when you use them. So,
okay.
I mean, like, they're just great. I just like them.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is about them, but I definitely find them to be just very effective. You know, I feel like I can count on them, especially the liners.
Yes.
Are what I'm the happiest about. You know, like me and my buddies just you know, like to say that, yeah, it just goes in like butter. You know, and that's all we ever wanted. You know.
I
It's
think
like
part of the reason why they do that is
Smooth
because
sailing.
of their configuration. They're a much looser grouping than your standard, like, you know, 5-round liner or 7-round liner. They're much looser, almost traditional in style grouping, but they're not soldered all the way down. They're soldered down just far enough to hold that grouping steady and together, while still allowing the tips of the needles to flex and spread slightly as they hit. So they are like, the capillary action you get in them is just unbelievable. I use only their straight groupings. If I need something maybe a little bit tighter, I'll go to like their bug pin liners, which I'm a huge fan of. In fact, that's all I've been using for the past like month or so, is just their bug pin liners. And I've never had a more dense, less traumatic line that I've ever put in. Like, there's no redness. It's a dense, solid, consistent line every time. And that's something I look for. You know, I used to judge every cartridge company based off of, well, okay, their mags are cool, but like, what are their liners like? You know, can
Yeah,
they
well,
make a really
and
good
those are going to be where you run into problems more often for sure. And I guess and I'm sure you're going to give them a good review on this too, but I just want to say one of the other issues that I run into a lot with virtually every cartridge company that I've tried is the centering, right?
right?
And that seems to be very hit and miss. And I'm pretty used to having to take every single cartridge and tweak that needle towards the center and then back towards the back of the tube a little bit to get it to ride right.
So they've gone through and they actually have their needles and where they're joined in to that rear push bar, and you know, I'm a little out of the terminology here as well, but you have your push rod which actually pushes the pins forward, and where they have that centered, it actually sits right against the bottom of the tip of the liner tube. So it kind of eliminates the need to do that from the get-go.
Gotcha.
You know, they're not sitting in the middle, they're not sitting, you know, too high or too low. You know, I've never had to angle one before. They've just always sat right at the bottom, and all their liner tips are beveled to begin with, so you get plenty of, you know, visibility, and you can really kind of see how that ink flow is working. So it's you know, I recommend them. I like them. You know, I know a lot of other people that swear by them. So I'd say, hey, give them a shot, see what you think. You know, I'd be interested to see your perspective because you use mostly Cheyenne, which I've also been a huge fan of.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're good. They're good at solid cartridges. You know, there's definitely the argument about going with a company that is run by actual tattooers. You know, they're going to have the best sense of what really, you know, they're going to have their own wish list. You know,
Right.
But you know, at the same time, Cheyenne has always been really good about getting out there and spending time with artists, going to their studios. You know, in the case of Chris, he's got a forearm of experiments that I've done on him. It's like, okay, we're going to pull the first half of this line with this group, and then I'm going to stop and continue it with this group. And I would never do that on a paying client. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you know, I don't feel like I can. I feel like ultimately, I have a promise to keep, which is that they're going to get the most perfect tattoo I can give them. And so it's kind of fun actually to have somebody I can do that kind of thing on and see him 6 months later and say, hey, let's see how that line healed, and say, okay, you can see up to that point, it's a little bit lighter than, you know, after that point. So we can really, you know, we had every other variable the same. So we can really conclude that this other group made a more saturated line. That's hard to do, you know, with your regular clients. And if I were like one of those crusty old timers and I hadn't already got 2 complete coats of tattoo work on my legs, I'd be doing it there, you know, but
Right.
I don't really have that chance either. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that I've used so much of their stuff, is because I like the fact that they work at building and maintaining that kind of relationship. But that's not quite the same as a product made by people who actually tattoo.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that really originally drove me to give them a shot in the first place, was that, hey, these are really well-known people within the industry. They know what they're doing as far as, you know, machines and, you know, the artwork that they're producing. You know, they're flying back and forth to the factories. And I'm not sure where their factory is actually located.
They have 2 factories. Oh, you're talking about
Okay.
the Black Claw factory?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But they spent time flying out there to check on the process, to do quality, you know, checks, and I've never had a bad grouping from them. And you know, I mean, I've never had a bad grouping from Cheyenne either. And Cheyenne's my usual, like, oh, okay, well, Black Claw's out of this. You know, who's got Cheyennes in stock? And let me see if I can grab a box of those. You know, they are my immediate go-to for, you know, my second pick ever since I got stuck on Black Claw. The problem with Black Claw is that a lot of the groupings that, you know, have become very, very popular, they're not always in stock. And
Gotcha.
sometimes you got to wait a while for them to come back in stock.
That's
And they don't
correct.
have any
Meanwhile,
round
you
shape.
need something. Sorry, Bruno.
That, and I like the fact that they're straight liners almost double as round shaders. They're very, very loose. They're very spread out. They're not very tight at all. You know, and they work really, really well.
That's interesting, man. The only thing that I've really used is like fuck sticks, and more recently is quadrants. They're not too bad.
Quadrants are nice. I've used those in the past, and I really liked them. Especially their Sublime cartridges were absolutely incredible. Definitely liked them, you know, and I would go back to them, you know, pretty quickly. You know, it's just, I think my major turnoff with them was more so just the company I was going through to get them, which I'm not really going to bring up. Just, you know,
There were
it's just not
frustrations.
something I'm trying to do. You know, I
Yeah.
don't like to talk negatively about anything or anyone.
It's good. It's good to be that way.
It's a good brand for sure. I was using quadrants for a while. And I was really happy, especially with the magnums.
Yeah.
But I started to have difficulty with the liners and like some inconsistencies, and I just freaked out, you know. And I had seen some of my buddies using and talking about the Black Claws and how there was just something about them, right? It's coming from these tattoo artists with so much experience, and not only tattooing, but also like, you know, creating needles and machines, that something's, you know, they definitely did, you know, something different that just makes these liner needles very efficient. And I just kind of feel like, you know, I can trust that, you know, things are being supervised, you know, a little bit more, so that you don't get those bad batches or anything like that, which could be, you know, a bad situation when it happens, you know.
Yeah, the last thing you want is for a cartridge to not be working the right way when you're tattooing someone.
Well, and often, especially if it's something that you've been low on, you know, that you arrive at work and there's the box of, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, thank God they're here, or else I was going to have to, you know, use something else, and, you know,
Absolutely.
have to make do with something I like a lot less. And then you open up the box and, you know, depending on the company, the last thing you want is to have a batch that's acting a little different.
Yeah.
Right. Consistency is key.
Yeah. And, you know, I think this has been one of my issues with cartridges in general. And I know that it's hard to make everything the same in manufacturing. But there just are so many individual quirks with each cartridge. So if Black Claw has fewer of those, then it's already worth the price of admission. I don't know if you're like me. If I get 20 minutes into a tattoo and the ink is not flowing very well, and I've tweaked that cartridge and I've moved the needle around a couple of times, and I'm doing the math, I'm thinking, okay, I've got 6 hours with this person in the chair. That's 5 hours and 40 minutes left. At least half that time I'm going to be spending with this needle. This is going to cost me an hour. And so it's in the garbage, right? Sometimes I'll do that twice with one, you know, needle group size until I'm like, finally, this thing is performing right. But I know that not everybody's got the luxury of doing that. And especially if you're doing smaller pieces, and you can't just say, well, this person's spending, you know, enough money that I can justify tossing this cartridge and grabbing a different one.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. Not only dealing with the fact that isn't going to work right, or it's just a frustration of, is this going to give me the outcome of the tattoo that I want? Like you're talking about, trying to give them the best tattoo that you can.
Yeah, without having to wrestle.
Right, because it compromises like your focus on the overall product of the well-being of the tattoo and the healing process of it and everything, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. You get caught up in a cycle of frustration, and you know, that definitely will affect your performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I do have some comments in the chat room.
Right on. Who's in the chat room today?
Okay, so let's see. So Ginger says, good morning from the West Coast. Akashi says, hello, thank you. This is Akashi from India. Thank you
Nice.
for these sessions, helping a lot with knowledge to grow in this amazing career.
Very good.
We've
Yeah.
got
Welcome.
Alondro Garcia says cool, and one of the YouTubes. Just want to remind everybody the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel is brand new. Please go subscribe. Let's see. Eric Cantu was asking about what company you guys were talking about, which was Black Claw, and a little bit of Cheyenne. Let's see. We've got Lol Ortiz says salud. Oh shit. They're from Colombia. It's Spanish. Salud desde Mafia Inc. Usted Colombia. So probably hello from Mafia Inc. in Colombia. Buena dia. Good day. Oh shit, I don't know this one. Henry says interesting in Spanish. Interesante. Henry says I like to tattoo so much. We've got hi from Mexico. Juan Coto says awesomeness. Greetings from El Salvador.
Welcome.
Okay.
There's a lot of from like Central America and South America.
Yeah, love hearing that.
You want to
Yeah,
give a
good
little
time
bit of
to-
a go about the Spanish art jam?
Yeah,
please
sure,
do.
absolutely. And would love to mention as well that on the Reinventing the Tattoo website, it's actually Reinventing the Tattoo /Espanol, like Espanol, but Espanol with an N. And there's a great seminar, one of Guy's seminars.
Bruno,
Yeah.
you should just speak in Spanish. You're speaking to the Spanish speakers, so just speak in Spanish for
Yeah, go ahead.
a minute or two.
Yeah, go for it.
Sounds great. Bueno, quería comentarles y compartir con ustedes que en la página web de Reinventing the Tattoo /Espanol pueden encontrar el seminario de fluidez y encaje, que es un seminario en donde Guy resume muchísima información muy clave para lo que tiene que ver con la composición de un tatuaje, cómo va a fluir en el cuerpo, o sea, información muy clave que se las recomiendo muchísimo. Está a $75, no es nada para toda la información que van a recibir, y lo pueden encontrar en reinventingthetattoo.com/espanol, con N, espanol. Bien fácil de poder llegar ahí. Y aparte de eso, también los quiero invitar a que el primer martes del mes, a las 9 p.m., estamos haciendo un paint jam en español, y en donde estoy invitando artistas de la industria con muchísimo talento, que les gusta pintar, tatuar, y estamos conversando de arte, de técnica, de materiales, y está súper interesante, así que nos encantaría que se unan a través del app de Reinventing the Tattoo, que está increíble. O sea, aparte de que pueden ver estos paint jams, también tienen acceso a muchísima información relacionada a otros temas, ¿no? En inglés, pero también ahora en español, y poco a poco vamos a ir sumando más. Así que el primer martes del mes, hablemos de arte con Bruno Salvatierra, ahí los vemos, y voy a poner más información en mi Instagram, en Prismas Art, perdón, Prismas_art, @Prismas_art, y ahí voy a poner toda la información acerca de Hablemos de Arte y todo lo demás.
Right on.
Very nice.
This is, it's
Buena
great that-
fiesta, cerveza.
Salud.
Salud.
Let's cheers.
Baño, por favor.
It's great that people are willing to tune in even when we're rambling in English and they can barely understand us. So it's even better that you're able to offer that. Such a huge community, Spanish-speaking tattoo world.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
I've been talking with Alec Teryansky about hosting something in Russian.
Nice.
And,
Yeah, another huge community.
He's as far as painters go, holy Moses, his fucking paintings are out of control.
Yeah, well, he's good at everything.
He really is. I used to kind of describe him as somebody who he just understands it from like a real fundamental spirit level. I swear he could tattoo you half black, and it would be like the best half black tattoo that could exist, just because whatever spirit he's putting into it is just a little bit. It's amazing. He's awesome.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, so Taransky gets one half of me black. You get the other half black. No. But, and then who
A
else?
whole lot of awesome.
Lokesh. I think we might try to do something for India.
Nice.
And
That would be awesome.
amazing.
Another growing community too. It's just, you know, interesting how these other countries that you wouldn't think of as being tattoo hotspots, they're all, you know, starting to, you know, come out with, you know, incredible artists.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, let's look at the Australian tattoo community. I mean, they are blowing up.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
There is something in the water out there, and I have no idea what it is.
It was kind of funny because I went out to Australia before this, right? So this was close to 30 years ago. And I was invited out there by some people who were not in the tattoo world. One of them was wanting to become a tattooer and later did. But at the time he was still a guy that worked at a record store, and, you know, and this is before the internet. So it was kind of a shot in the dark. Okay, I'm going to go get picked up at the airport by these people who I vaguely know what they look like, and I don't know much else about them. But I had a great time. And I learned to love Australians because, I mean, they're truly, you know, fun, very real people. And I met a couple of pretty good tattooers there, and I visited a couple of shops that were pretty modern, but by and large, you know, I went and visited other shops, and by and large, it was stuck 2 decades in the past at the time. And it was dirty, and but there was such a hunger for it, right? So, you know, the shop that I visited was Trevor McStay's shop outside of Melbourne, and he was up to speed with the times. You know, he had been tattooed heavily by Paul Jeffries and worked alongside him at conventions and that kind of thing. And so he ran probably the most modern shop in Australia at the time. But the rest was very, very gutter level, and but there was such a hunger for it. So it's just interesting to see how that's come around. And then, of course, the history of Russian tattooing, since that's just been mentioned. You know, the first time we started noticing Russian tattoos was in the magazines a long time ago. I'm trying to remember this guy's name.
Pavel Angel, maybe?
No, before Pavel,
Pavel.
even. There was it was somebody who was just going by a first name like Dmitry or some very common Russian name. And it was incredibly detailed, beautifully worked stuff, right? Now we see a lot of that now. And what's interesting is part of their traditional history is their prison tattooing. Now you think, well, we have prison tattooing here, but there's a very distinct difference where here it is against the rules, right? If you're tattooing your buddies in prison and, you know, there's people watching out, they're like, oh, man walking, guards coming, everything gets put away. Meanwhile, at the Russian gulags, the guards are bored too. They're borderline prisoners, right? They're assigned to that gulag because they fucked up, right? And so they're
Fantastic.
just sitting around with these prisoners, and, you know, and the tattooing is not only not against the rules, but it's one of the only time-consuming things they can find to do there, right? Surrounded by ice and you know, 1,000 miles in every direction. And so even the tattoos they forced on each other for being snitches or whatever, they tended to make really nice, very detailed, time-consuming stuff. And so you can see how that sort of fed into the tradition of, you know, when you look at what you think of as you know, your typical Russian tattooing, it tends to be more detail oriented. It tends to be very technical, very precise. And that's what we were seeing when they were first starting to emerge on the global scene. And it was really refreshing.
They also have to put the vote in for the New Zealand. You know,
Oh,
Australia is big and
Yes.
massive, but there's a couple shops in New Zealand that I think. I mean, obviously, when you're talking about amazing tattooers and artists, it's all different flavors of amazing. But if there was to be a tattoo fight between Australia and New Zealand, I'm not sure the outcome is predestined.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And
that would be a tough one.
I don't want to go, you know, so far as to put them in the same team, because they really aren't. You know, that would be like comparing, you know, American and Canadian tattooers and saying that we're all the same. And, you know, that's never the same, because I think about my favorite Canadian tattooers, and they definitely have their own thing. Steve Moore and James Tex and Christina Christie and of course Kaya Heitland.
Kaya, yeah.
These are very distinctive styles that are I think of as being kind of uniquely Canadian.
Yeah,
But
did anyone else
the
see what-
Irish and the English are definitely the same. No, just joking.
Hey now, did anyone see what Anthony Tex posted up the other day?
No.
Oh man, it's a full leg sleeve and it is beautifully rendered. Absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous.
I've been
The
sort
placement
of-
and everything is just incredible.
I've been sort of not social mediaing as much, but yeah, I should check that out. But yeah,
There you
in
go.
New Zealand, there's one artist there who I almost collaborated with, but COVID stopped it. It goes by the Inglorious Hoko, and he's a ZBrush user, which is something I was really interested in trying to get better at, and that's why I was excited about working with him. But yeah, I just love his black and gray work, and of course Steve Butcher was a New Zealander.
Yep.
But he has decided to come join us here.
In LA.
Yeah.
Wow, this Inglorious
Dean
Hoko.
Sacred,
holy
he's
schmoly.
another New Zealander. He's been around for a really long time.
Who's that?
Dean Sacred.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and that is who Steve Butcher cited as being one of the people that was very instrumental in him figuring out the tattoo puzzle early in his career. That was the artist that he kind of aligned himself with, even though he wasn't in a shop and there wasn't a space in a shop. Dean Sacred was, saw that he was serious and wasn't going to be like, oh, you're not working for me, so I'm not helping you.
Right. Yeah, I got a chance to meet Dean and talk to him a little bit the last time I went to the London show. And probably one of the nicest people I think I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, Steve spoke really highly of him.
Okay, if
He's
we're going
just
to
a
talk
good,
about
genuine human.
really nice, we've got to bring up Matteo Pascalin. You
I
guys
don't know
Matteo's,
I don't know if I've met Matteo in person.
oh, so smiley, but look at his fucking work too. Holy shit.
Whoa.
I definitely have seen his work. Yeah, crazy, right?
But so smiley, so nice. The
A little bit of background just does so much for that particular
It really
piece.
does. It really brings the whole piece together.
Yeah, but it doesn't overwhelm it at all. It's just
Right.
a haze.
Yep.
Well, you almost kind of have to have that for where the light source is.
Yeah, that's what I was
Right.
gonna say. It almost like helps the foreground establish that form. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
black and the contrast is just like popping off of that softer background too.
Yep.
It's a delicate balance to nail that stuff.
Yeah,
And
man.
also,
You either nail it or you just like it's kind of there.
right. Well, what happens is you end up overpowering the tattoo. If you don't nail
Right.
it ends up just being this big presence that doesn't add to it.
Yeah. It's almost, I don't know if it's just me, but very like charcoal drawing kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow. So smooth.
Yeah, super smooth. Real quick, a little off topic, but your class tomorrow night, Guy. What time
Yes.
does that start again?
9 Eastern.
9 Eastern. Okay, great.
And it's going to be perspective this time. This is going to be the last of the individual depth exercises. And after that, we're going to have a finals project, kind of like we did with the elemental flow, where we're going to be trying to incorporate all 6 of the different tricks into one project.
Okay, so if I was to jump in tomorrow night, not having been in the other classes with you guys, would you recommend that I kind of thumb through the previous classes online and go from there?
I don't know if that's 100% necessary if you have the time to.
Okay.
But you'll have perspective in a whole week after that if you want to get caught up on it. One thing that you could do is just kind of go through the depth chapter in the curriculum and take a look at that, because those are all the things that we're going to be covering. But yeah, at least, you know, if you really want to be up to speed, it wouldn't hurt. There have been some great exercises so far.
Okay.
Yeah, the main thing is just the idea of integrating them all, and or you know, try to bring, you know, 4 or 5 of these tricks together into one project. But we're going to try to do all 6, the same way as with the elemental flow exercises. After we did 5 of those in a row, we tried to, you know, integrate all of the different elements into a single piece, which ended up being super challenging. Like, we all felt like we'd had a serious workout at the end of it.
Mhm.
Excellent. Great. I'm excited to join tomorrow night then.
Right on.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. It's a good time.
So let's see a couple other comments and stuff. We have Bosjan Lankarik says good themes. Eric Cantu says, "What's up, guys? Love y'all. I'm going to sign up for Reinventing, or sign up today for Reinventing."
Nice.
Perfect.
Very much.
You'll be just in time for our exercise tomorrow.
And then let's see, we've got Justin Hadlock was asking about joining the Zoom, and I did reply with how, but just so people that are listening could hear, if you go to the Reinventing the Tattoo community, that's either at community.reinventingthetattoo.com or download from the app stores, then click on the events. It's the very first button because it's probably one of the cornerstones of the app. But you'll have a list of all of the upcoming live streams as well as the links to zoom in.
Right. Like for example, this one, you know, when I opened up the app today, I just clicked on events and, you know, waited for it to refresh. It took about 1.5 seconds. And then there it was with the join via Zoom button right there. So there really wasn't much searching around or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, actually, I wonder if I could probably let's see, let's do this real quick. So voila, here I am in the community events, and then we have the watch the show, which would put us into this Inception-like craziness, or artist zoom in, which would have me zooming in while I'm zooming in while we're talking and zooming in, which would be crazy. So I won't do that, but you can see at any given time, it's actually pretty simple. And then let's see, we've got other comments. Damon says, what brand liners are we talking about? That was the Black Claw with a little bit of Cheyenne. Let's see, Alex Navarro says, the Cheyenne Thunder and the new critical battery has been fire. I can use slang. Daniel Lara says, I'm loving this, guys. The most struggle to find the dependable cartridges is real. Ivan says, I love this arts. I'd like to receive these exercises. So I will reply to him there with, so Ivan, if these exercises are all at, if you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, I'm going to do that because this is one of the reasons why we're here. Voila, courses.reinventing the tattoo. There's the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, and this contains it's like 7 or 8 massive chapters with all of the brains of Guy and his guest artists and guests from the last 20 some odd years, as well as the Monday exercises, exclusive Monday exercises every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you do go to the courses and you go to the canon, you can try out some of the sample lessons for free. You can have the first taste is free, just like anything that's good, that's addictive.
Right. And the other thing is, if you do subscribe, then in about a week, a few days after that, you will get an email with a list of recommended exercises from past sessions that we've done, along with recommended chapters to check out, depending on, like, if you're trying to improve your lining, improve your color saturation, etc. So I've kind of made a list of recommendations for each of those goals, and aimed you at material that can help you out with that.
Awesome. Oh, actually, and then the other way, real quick, just the last little sales pitch before I get into the other comments, is if you get the app, then you can just like click the buttons and pay the money right through Apple, and they make it really easy. They make it difficult to communicate with you later, but they make it really easy for you to click the buttons and pay the dough right there on the app. Okay, so we've got Rob says, I've been with Reinventing since the first book came out. Love watching you guys at home. It's almost like being in there, minus the cold ones, LOL. Rob, we do have, speaking of cold ones, a drunk critique is been rumbling about happening in March. So,
Oh no.
yeah, yeah. I'm not going to
Yeah.
talk about it with a family on Valentine's Day, but okay. And then
We're
we've
gonna
got
lose Dad for 3 days again.
nope. We're going to cut it to 3 hours. No 9-hour epics. Actually, I need to go out. I got an article in Tattoo Society magazine. So another good plug for Tattoo Society, one of the best magazines that still exists. Yeah, it's got great features, including a little write up on the 9-hour
Pat.
special of the fucking drunk critique. Paul Booth came on. Joe Cap came in and broke some china, and it was amazing. Okay.
Funny story about Tattoo Society. There's photos of me in a few of their magazines. I went to their first anniversary party back 1 year,
Oh, cool.
after they had released. And there's photos of me just like, I still have a copy of it too. It's pretty awesome. I think I still
How's it
have the
gonna be?
first three issues they ever published. But I think I've kind of lost a few of them over the years, but
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of them all. I've got so many bins, and I tried to keep my tattoo societies in order, but that didn't last.
yeah.
But I think I've got like 90% of them in a bin, including like the first 2 or 3.
Yeah, that was exciting when those first issues came out.
Well, anytime somebody was like going out of their way to try to do something different with the magazine, and there were a few attempts, I think that Tony had the most successful attempt.
Yeah.
In terms of, shouldn't even call it an attempt. I mean, he definitely made it happen because, there was this sense that the publishers of these magazines didn't really understand the material that they were publishing, right? Because they put an incredible piece next to a garbage piece, right? It's like, you can tell the difference, right? And there was also this sense that a lot of what was ending up in the pages was because of friendships and favoritism and that kind of thing, and of course a certain amount of that is just simply going to happen, right? And I won't complain because all the magazines that I ever worked with regularly, always tried to return the favor, and definitely was a sense of, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. But then Tony came along and he was like, well, I'm really gonna try to raise the standard of what goes in these pages. I'm not going to print anything that I don't personally think looks amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Every issue I get still, it's I get a new tattooers that are doing awesome work, and compared to the Instagram tiny ass little phone screen, and even the computer screen is not 300 DP. The computer screen is still only 72 DPI, right? So like the magazine, it just looks better and it's richer and um, yeah. Well, and again, to Guy, to your point, the curating, Tony puts in sick ass tattooers that again, I'm still discovering people from it.
Yeah,
And then there's also
Tattooers
a couple
magazine
interviews with Tony in the archives of the library there. He's done a couple interviews with let's see, I think he interviewed Roman and Mike DeVries. He did a whole interview, and there was a Tattooer of the Year paint jam with Guy, and I think maybe Mark Lascarbo from Needle Jig did an interview with Tony. It's fun.
So I am going to have to step away in a minute. I was just wondering if anyone had any questions or comments about their priority project, which is what I've been kind of picking away at here. Seems like what I've been seeing here so far is all looking really nice.
No.
Yeah, I was struggling a little bit with just the initial layout and how to get, how to get these nice super dark shadows, but still maintain a lot of my cast shadows coming from the Scorpion.
Right.
So I mean, I think I've got it okay, but
you end up having to really push your balances a little bit, and I've been dealing with the same thing. Some of these, like the cast shadows under these legs, and just trying to raise values a slight amount in some places, lower them a little bit in other places. Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes there's not a simple formulaic answer so much as a massage it until it looks good sort of answer.
Yeah, it's kind of what I've been doing, but yeah, just didn't know if you had any insight on that.
Are there any particular spots in the composition that you're struggling with?
Not as of right now. I mean, this little foreground portion right here by the pincers, I think I'm going to go back through and just simplify that a bit more so that way it doesn't create too much texture and too much motion, to help distract from this, because I really want to keep this nice and clear and in the foreground.
Well,
So
if there's one thing that I would, maybe recommend is to take a close look at the red and gold scorpion and the tiny little granular highlights in there. And I think that if you brought a few of those into some key places, you would get that priority that you need.
Okay.
Then you have some very high contrast, fine detail, and high contrast fine detail is one of the most guaranteed ways to bring visual attention to an element.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been having not trouble, but right now one of my challenges is trying to balance that out, because in some ways it becomes kind of like a almost compulsive thing where I end up running that kind of detailing through the entire scorpion, and I told myself I was only going to do it in the pincher's face and the front of the tail. So I'm probably going to end up doing this fine detailing through all of it and going back and blurring it a little bit in some of the farther back areas. I might even take some of my farther back highlights down a few percent in brightness, so that the highest contrast and sharpness is just in these key elements. That's what I'm telling myself I'm going to do anyway. That would be if I followed my own advice.
Let me know how that works out for you, man.
Right on. Well, hey, it's been great seeing you all, and I do have to cut away, and I'm going to try to get another hour's worth of work, I think, on this thing before we meet again tomorrow night. And perhaps I'll see some of you tomorrow morning if I'm awake early enough at Jake's Drawing Group. And it's been great hanging with y'all.
Later, man.
Likewise.
Same here, guys. Have a great day.
Cheers, thanks.
Hey, you too.
Okay, and what are your guys' thoughts on time here? If anybody's for people that are watching, let us know in the chat room how you're digging it, so that we could be encouraged to stay, I suppose. I mean, I guess we do this for us anyways, right? What are you guys' thoughts for time?
I mean,
Personally,
I don't have anything else going on today, so.
Okay, cool. Well, let's give it another a half hour-ish, give or take. I'm gonna move over to my phone so that I will be a little less attentive to the chat rooms and stuff, but I will be having my ear on it for any sort of issues.
Awesome.
I think I'm gonna end up working on one of those scorpions later tonight.
Yeah, man, this has been a really challenging assignment.
Yeah.
Very, very tricky, just because you have so many very complex elements. So the assignment essentially ranged around this like grouping of succulents, right? Which are pretty complex flowers in and of themselves, or not flowers, but plants. They kind of look like flowers.
Yeah.
They're very busy, and there's a lot to them. And then you have all the detail in like a scorpion as well, right? With all the texture on the claws, the highlights, the back scales, the face, and then just to add in another layer of complexity, he added a root system into the background, and it's like, okay, well, where do we really define our priority? How do we really show what we really want to emphasize?
Right.
And that was like, it forces you to say, okay, I've all of these complex elements. What do I need to simplify? What do I really need to put a bold outline on? What do I need to put no outline on? How can I really bring this forward more? How can I really put more emphasis on it? And it's tricky, very,
It's
very
for
tricky.
well, the cool. I mean, it's pretty awesome. It's a challenge for sure, like you're saying. And you know, one of the best parts about it is that it kind of gives you an objective, like a goal, like a
Right.
forward kind of way of accomplishing, making the image legible for everybody to read what it is that you're trying to say to them. You know, like you were talking about earlier.
Hmm. Yeah, and usually it'd be like, okay, well, we're just going to put this in the foreground. Maybe we'll have
Right.
one or two of these guys, and then a couple of roots coming down. But I really wanted to kind of challenge myself and say, okay, let's put one of these in the foreground as well, as close to us as we can, and then
Yeah.
try to put a little bit more emphasis on the middle ground.
Mhm.
And how am I going to go about accomplishing that and keeping a bit of the detail out of this guy up here in the front that's obviously obscuring part of the scorpion, which is pushing that to the middle ground.
Mhm.
How can I go through and put less emphasis on this and more emphasis on this, even though this is technically in the foreground, so it should have more clarity to it.
Right.
So I really wanted to kind of push myself to really see what I can do with it.
That's cool, man.
And it's kind of what I like about doing these reinventing drawing assignments is going through and really pushing yourself to try to do better and to
Mhm.
try to do more and really put yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
where like the growth is. You know, like a lot of times we all get afraid, or not afraid, but you know, we all have these moments where we battle with like, is this good enough? What are my peers going to think? You know, is it well enough for me to kind of put it out there with my name on it? You know what I mean? So but it's good because that's where like the growth comes from. I think is whenever you do take those chances and you do take that opportunity to take the constructive criticism and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of my favorite things, not one of my favorite things, but it is also interesting to watch guys sometimes get into it. And he's like, whoa, this is difficult.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm not doing every day. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just awesome to see everyone's progress. And again, just doing this shit, a couple times a week. In my seminar, I would teach, tell a little story about comparing two different tattoo studios. One where people were doing something, a couple times a week or once a week, and another studio that wasn't doing anything, right? And the compounding effects of doing this shit, a couple times a week over the course of 5-10 years, compared to another shop where people just kind of, drink their coffee or beer or whatever and don't bother.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that makes a real difference. And I don't know, it's really exciting to think about where this is all going.
It's really
Yeah.
painful, man.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I really enjoyed about it, and to kind of bounce off of what you were saying, Gabe, is the fact that you can take, a very high caliber artist like Guy himself, and to hear him step back and say, whoa, this is like super difficult. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's comforting to hear that, people of that caliber still struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
I find myself struggling quite a bit, just to try to keep up with a lot of different things, and to hear that, hey, it's not just you, everyone struggles with a lot of stuff every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I'm not saying I like to see him struggle, I don't, obviously, but it gave me a little bit of reassurance that, hey, it's okay to struggle, it's okay to maybe not do something that maybe you're not 100% proud of. It's not a tattoo, thankfully, so it's not like it's going on anyone. But what you are trying to do ultimately is sharpen your skills for art, so that when you do go to do that next tattoo, you can keep this stuff right in the forefront of your mind and have that affect the next tattoo that you do. And that to me
Yeah.
was like the ultimate, you know, I guess, epiphany moment, where it was like, oh, yeah, okay. I remember working on this in this assignment or this exercise,
Right.
and
Muscle memory.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Muscle memory, man. And you're staying in the practice of all of it too. You know what I mean? Like whenever you hear of this band that you fell in love with as a guitarist, that just like, it's amazing. It's like the first time you've ever heard anybody play guitar, man. You can't think of anybody better than them. It's taken them years most of the time to be able to get to that level where they can produce that kind of a quality for you to fall in love with. You know what I mean? So it's always a practice. I agree with you, and it becomes muscle memory after a while.
Well, it's also encountering the, or working on the problems before you get to them, right? So it's
Right.
like, it's one of the things, guys like leading people through all these series of exercises. So it's not unintentional when people come into, other problems in the real world, like, oh, wait a minute. Or like the lighting stuff or the volumes, all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
I
Well,
think one
yeah,
of the
and
things, no, go ahead, Ricardo. Go
no, I'm sorry, dude. I don't even sure what I was going to say. Go
ahead.
ahead.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think that one of the things that I like to remind myself that you were saying earlier, Ricardo, that like you kind of, you I guess you get a little bit intimidated, right, when you're starting on something new, right, and you don't get those immediate results,
Yep.
and but after like pushing it, you know, like going past that fear, I guess, or that like feeling of not feeling confident enough. I feel like once you make that effort to pass that and just be okay with things not going so well, because you're at the end of the day, you're just starting to kind of work on something.
Right.
Like just kind of being okay with that. That things might not go perfect, especially when you're drawing around such talented people, like you tend to like
Yeah.
question yourself, but I've been trying to remind myself, because at first I would struggle with that. I would just be intimidated, by the results that I could put out there and the results that I was seeing in the group. But yeah, man, I feel like once you get past that, like that struggle, like, and you just give what you got and you keep on doing it, like for me, it's like really paid off to like make these efforts every week to make it to the class and to come through with the exercise one way or another, right? Like if it's coming out, it's never really going to come out the way we want it, right? We always have such high expectations for our work, but that's what keeps us like pushing ourselves to grow, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it, man. You're right. Like you said, the growth is, it's surprising. It's like magic. You know what I mean? Especially when you kind of give up that idea that it's going to be perfect each time you sit down and draw. And then the opportunity that you get with like a person like Guy to be able to look at your piece online through this forum, the Reinventing Tattoo forum, and then for him to be able to kind of critique it, it's incredible. It's a major resourceful tool.
Major.
And yeah, you know what I mean? Like the experience that this guy has is incredible. And like you said, man, putting yourself out there and giving yourself that opportunity for that constructive criticism to come through is a giant step for your progress in a lot of different venues.
I also think it's important to try to keep in mind and try to remember that, we're all here for the same purpose and the same reason. We're all
Right.
here to get better.
Yeah.
And we're all here to learn and to advance ourselves. And it doesn't matter where you start. Like your initial starting position is almost completely irrelevant. As long as you're improving and you're trying and you're putting that effort in, then you're doing it right.
Yep.
Some of us might need to work on different things. Some of us may have problems with color palettes. Some of us may have problems with perspective or contrast or, priority or, any number of other things. But as long as we're all working to improve and we're all sharing knowledge and tips and, saying, oh, hey, I had that same problem, try looking at it in this way or doing this like this, it really helped me overcome that issue. I think that's what's really the ultimate, purpose behind this. And to sit back and tell yourself like, oh man, I'm super intimidated to be here. It's like, you could throw me in a room with Steve Moore, James Tex, and Dave Tavenau, which I've done before. And you just sit down and you think to yourself, it's like, okay, well, you know what? I might not be on that level, but I'm here for the same reason.
Right.
I'm here to get better, and I'm here to watch these guys and to learn and to ask them questions and, you know, to get their opinion on this and to get their opinion on that, and, you know, to further myself and my career. And I know these guys are doing the same thing too.
Yeah.
So, you know, as long as you try to keep that in mind, I don't think you can ever actually go wrong.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not like any of us get magic spells to cast to make us better tattooers. You know, it just doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Well, maybe it does happen for a few people.
That's what I was gonna say. You know, you got some of those guys that just they can pick something up and they just do it right away, and that's with everything really. But you know,
Yeah, they get cheat codes, man, and that shit
yeah,
ain't fair.
I know.
That
Tell me
stuff
about
is
it, dude.
not, they're like putting in the Konami code or something
Yeah,
before
yeah,
they
yeah.
start every tattoo. And it's like, yo,
Exactly.
where did you learn that?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like I
Up,
don't know, it
down,
just makes
down,
sense. It
right?
just makes sense. Yes, right, exactly, dude. That was a good one. That was Contra, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah, yeah,
99
yeah.
lives,
Yep, exactly. I love that game.
right?
Good old days.
I'm such a sucker for vintage video games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
It's like, yeah. You've got this new Xbox or PS5 or whatever it is. It's like, that's cool and all, but like, I'm still playing my NES.
Yeah,
You let me be happy with my 8-bit Mario World 3, okay?
yep. Mario 3 is awesome.
Dude, with the Tanuki suit
Yep.
was my jam,
It was so bitching. You get that feather and you go.
right? I mean, sometimes I'll like to put on, you know, Mario 2 just to like, you know, go nostalgic. And I liked Mario 2 because you could play as different characters, and that was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of upped the game on that one, didn't they?
Yeah. They were like, oh yeah, by the way, you can be the princess, you can be Toadstool now. And it's like, whoa, wait, what?
Toadstool was my jam, man.
Yo, right?
Especially on Mario Kart, dude. I know that's at the 64. We're not talking about the NES anymore, but still,
Yeah,
that
that's a
dude
little
is.
too new for me, man.
Yeah.
A little
You're like,
too new for me.
you're breaking into some three-dimensional stuff. Nah, man, I'm left to
Right?
right.
That it's a little too realistic.
Yeah.
I have trauma now every time I see a banana peel.
That's great, dude.
It's like,
We
whoa,
used
whoa,
to,
whoa, no, avoid that banana peel. Trust me, it's gonna save you some time.
Yeah.
I saw this
we're-
once. Someone was playing something and I saw this.
Yep. We were talking about that drunk session that we're talking about doing in March, man. We used to get just annihilated and play some Mario Kart hours, dude.
Oh
Just hours.
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember the first time my kids saw the NES, they were like, "What is that gray box?" I'm like, "What the hell is wrong with you guys?"
Nope, you have to go now. You need
Yeah,
to
pretty
leave.
much. I'm like, go back to your mom's house. You're good.
Right?
No, they played it. They were entertained for about 10 minutes, and then they were like, "All right, I'm done." It's like, damn, dog.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm very, very thankful to end up being a part of this community, man. And I was really hesitant to join it at first. I was like, what could I possibly get out of this, right? Because like I have the first 2 editions of the book,
Yeah,
you know, which covered the basics, and that's what it did. And I'm like, meh, you know, is there really that much new content? Like I wasn't completely sold on it at first, and like now I look back and I'm like, how could I have ever doubted this?
Mhm.
right.
You know, I'm looking at it now and it's absolutely
gold.
incredible. Like it's everything that I have ever wanted in like a tattoo community,
Dude, yeah.
you know, where we're all working to achieve the same goal. You know, and that's
Yep.
something that I never thought was actually there. I thought it was going to be like some of those Facebook groups that you can join where it's basically people just making fun of other people the whole time
Yeah, that's
for,
bogus,
you know,
man.
not being up to par. But when you look
Right,
at their work, it's like, really, dude, you have the audacity to criticize someone else?
Yeah,
right.
it's priceless, man. Like it's literally like priceless. Like just to have, you know, to be in a community where you can be in contact with other artists that are also looking to continue learning. Not to mention that, you know, we have the opportunity to have these classes with Guy, you know, like it's like just the access to all these things. It's incredible, you know, and I want to make sure I never take it for granted, because it's a pretty big deal, man, as far as like finding ways to continue growing and you know, taking these classes alongside with other talented artists and seeing the different approaches and the endless, you know, conversations about, you know, the little things that make big differences, you know, like it's amazing, man. Like what Gabe and Guy and the whole team have done, it's just crazy. Like so much material to grow and to help yourself with. And yeah, man, it's a big deal. It's a big
I
deal.
came to the conclusion that Gabe was just a wizard. Like he's casting spells in the background and stuff to make things work. And, you know, I just kind of equate it to that. You know, so Gabe, you keep casting those spells, dude. I don't know what you're doing, or if you've got like a big black iron cauldron that you're standing in front of the whole time, but you keep doing whatever it is you're doing, man. You are doing one hell of a job.
For real.
Agreed.
That app is coming together, man. Like, oof, crazy. It's
Right?
endless content, man, and it's all very well organized.
Yeah, I really started to get on a live stream kick too. That was kind of fun. Had some people from Australia joining me. That was pretty enlightening.
Yeah, man, I caught part of that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Which one? Because I did it 2 nights in a row.
Well, this is the one where you were doing your buddy's the flames on his arm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was actually walking home from the shop that night, man. It was freezing. So I was like trying to text you. My thumbs are starting to go numb. So I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But that was a killer.
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. You know, and just answering random questions as I'm working. You know, and
Mhm.
it kind of gives me. It doesn't really give me an excuse to cater to my ADD, but like it really helped. Because like I was like, oh, let's see if anyone commented. Oh no, they
Yeah.
didn't yet. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna keep rocking and just like try to fill the dead silence, you know.
Right.
You know,
Thing is that, you know, like,
there was a lot of good stuff that came from it, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
do it again next week.
and it's in those like small questions, you know, that sometimes can trigger a whole like key conversation, you know, on other
Right.
things, and these unplanned just gatherings, you know, where you never know what you know subject you're gonna touch on, and sometimes, you know, that, like I said, those little things, those little tricks, those small comments, they go a long way.
Yep.
Yeah, and as I always try to mention to everyone that joins those live streams, like I'm not the best tattooer. I know this. I'm Joe Nobody tattooer that works at a studio in suburban Philadelphia. You know, I'm not anything special, but I've learned a few tricks in my life. You know, and sometimes just that knowledge of those tiny little tricks can make a world of difference to another artist. Maybe it'll
Yep.
make them look at something in a different way. Maybe it'll make them turn around and it'll be that little epiphany moment that, you know, they've been waiting for their whole life that completely
Exactly.
changes their entire mind on tattooing. You never really know, but you don't know until you put it out there. So, you know, I always try to put that out there as much as possible. And I also try to tell people it's like, you know, once you have achieved so much knowledge in the tattoo world or in any industry, period, it's now your responsibility to pass what you've learned on to the next generation.
Yep.
And what better way to do that than passing on advanced knowledge and advanced techniques and advanced little tricks and tips here and there, you know, than to people that are already, they're not beginners. You know, most people in this community are not first year tattooers. You know, there's probably a few, I don't know how many, but there's, you know, probably a handful of them. But for the majority of it are just tattooers that have been doing the same thing that are looking to push their game forward. You know, they're looking to improve, they're looking to get better. You know, they're looking to try to take their work to the next level. And that's, you know, generally from what I've seen, those are the majority of the people in it. And those are the people that could really benefit from those tiny little tips and tricks.
Mm-hmm.
They've been, coloring things in with the same technique for 10 years, but they see all of this other stuff being done and it looks really good. And they know that, those people aren't using the same technique to color things in, but how are they doing it differently? And they don't know. Well, maybe it's like just a little trick or technique, that maybe one of us can say, oh, hey, try it like this. It'll completely blow your mind with like how well it works. Um, and to have them turn around, apply that, and then see the work that they're doing with that kind of a little trick. And it's like, bravo, man, that's what you needed.
Yep.
Once again, that's my 2 cents on the whole bit. It might not be worth 2 cents to some people, but that's the way I view it.
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
it, man.
everybody is always gonna have their own perspective on things, but I completely agree, man.
Yeah, it's tattooing is one of those ever evolving, ever learning, living industries where you need to keep up with it, man. You need to constantly push yourself to do better work, because if not, people are going to blow right past you. People that have been tattooing for 2 or 3 years that are coming out that are, just phenomenal. And it's like, well, what did I not learn that you learned that allowed you to execute this to such a degree?
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying that I did anything wrong. It's just maybe I missed something. Maybe I was never taught something. Maybe there's, a tiny little trick or secret to doing this or doing that that I never even considered.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's just something out there that I haven't learned. Maybe there's something out there that, you haven't learned. Who knows? But until we get together and, start combining our information and really sit down and talk with each other about, okay, how are you doing that? What technique are you using? How much needle hang do you have coming out? What color pigments are you using? How are you sitting down and defining this area versus this area? And why does this look so three-dimensional and that looks so flat? How did you achieve that kind of a focus factor? What elements do you really focus on when you're designing your tattoos? Maybe that's got a completely different, mental process than what a lot of people imagine. So how do we differ as artists, and how can we all grow as an artist and share said information, so that we can all improve and we can all grow as a community? That's kind of the way that I look at this community.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it differently, which is fine. We all have our rose-colored glasses that are our view of life. As Ricardo, I think we were discussing the other weekend.
Yeah, man.
Um, it's like we all have a perspective that we view life.
Yep. And
And
it's
we all have different experiences. So
that's
let's
exactly what
learn from
makes
each
it.
other.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what makes that perspective unique, is your experience of the life that you've lived up to that exact point where you're explaining it to somebody. You know what I mean? It changes your opinion, it changes the outlook, it changes the results, even like you're saying, man. So if we can sit down and actually listen to each other and try to comprehend what it is that you're illustrating as far as your perspective, then well, how is it? It's impossible for you not to learn to grow from that point on. If you're able to like listen to each other, understand that about each other, and then, like you said, gather information to kind of start gearing your own perspective, your own unique approach.
Absolutely, man. And I'm one of those people where to me, it doesn't matter how long someone's been tattooing or what style they're doing. If I'm at a show and I see someone that's doing something awesome, I'll stop by and I'll just watch them. And I'll,
Yep. Yep.
hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Like, oh, how are you doing that? Like, how long have you been tattooing? Like, I noticed you don't really have that extensive of a portfolio, but like, what are you doing differently than I'm doing?
Right.
Maybe you've only been tattooing for 3 years. That's fine. That's irrelevant to me.
Right.
You're doing something that's awesome. And now I'm trying to go through and look at what you're doing, which may be completely different than anything I've ever done in my life. So I'm just going to watch and ask questions. If you don't want to answer the questions, hey, that's your prerogative. Totally cool. You know,
Yep.
but it's all of us trying to advance together that, you know, especially at conventions, man, where a lot of people get super guarded because I'll walk up to someone and start peppering them with questions. They don't know me from anyone else.
Right.
They have no idea who I am. Not that I'm anyone important, but you know, they've never met me. So why should they divulge said information? You know, then again, they might see the artist pass around my neck and say, oh, you're that dude. Oh, you've got a booth here. Cool. Like,
Right.
yeah, here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm doing this. Like, you're not just some like kitchen magician out there trying to like, you know, actually learn how to do it the right way.
Kitchen magician. I haven't heard that one in a while. That's
Absolutely,
awesome.
man.
That's
Little
awesome.
kitchen magicians.
Bringing it back. Yeah. I like what you're saying though, Jason, because like you're pretty much saying that you just like what we were talking about with Bruno and everybody in the room here is that you have to be able to just learn to put yourself out there, man. You gotta fucking, you gotta speak up. You gotta ask the questions, and
How
this is
do
a
you think I
perfect
ended up
opportunity to do
hosting
it.
these sessions, man?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yep.
Why not? What do I have to lose?
Yep.
Only have to gain, right?
Right.
I think there's a sense of empowerment, man. As scary as it may be for you to put yourself out there, there's a sense of empowerment that develops after a while. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It
It's huge.
it makes you more confident in your work. It makes you more confident in your own person, and when you're approaching like your clientele, even you know what I mean. It changes everything for you.
The only thing I might add to this is, putting yourself out is obviously, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't.
Right.
But just making sure that you're prepared, mentally, right? Like, so, like if you're just trying to take, right, or if you're just trying to, and
Yes.
it's really tricky when you're in the beginning part of your career, right? Because you don't have a lifetime of experience to contribute. But again, I've watched a couple people, Baxter, way back in the day, and like Kelly Doty, some people like just have some sort of, and Guy, obviously, um, people are always going at different rates, but and have different things to contribute. But the main thing is to contribute something, right? And I remember a story that Gogwe told me. He's like, when I first met him over at the London convention, he was like, I don't know, man. Like all of a sudden, I just looked around. I was walking down the street with this dude that I'd kind of talked to a couple times at the convention, and you're like carrying my shit. And I was like, yeah, well, I was just there to help. You had a lot of shit to, it was at the end of the night of the convention, and I was like, hey, you need help carrying your shit? And you were like, yeah. But again, it was so even if I had the only thing that I had to contribute to Gogwe was to carry his shit, and I was there at the right time in the right place.
Right.
That was it. Now, on the other hand, I actually had met him 6 months previously at the Detroit convention, or I hadn't met him. I tried to meet him, and he completely 100% avoided my gaze. Right, so like I went up to his booth, and I don't really. It's my job to like talk to tattooers, right? But like, I don't necessarily want to like just go up and start talking to people. It's not, So if there's any excuse not to talk to somebody, I'll take it, right? But with Jeff, it was like, okay, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but his portfolio is out of control, and he was sitting there. I think it was probably in his double booth. One of those times when he was getting the double booth and having a big banner. So it was like he had all this space, and he was there. He wasn't tattooing, but he wasn't looking up. And I went through his portfolio a couple times, through the course of the weekend. But then I was like, I want to talk to this guy. And I don't want to talk to this guy, but I need to talk to this guy. Because if so I sat there and I was looking at every single tattoo picture in his book again, for the third time, and in between every third picture, I'm looking up, I'm like trying to catch him, to say hi. And I had to walk away. I walked away with his business card, and I left a couple of messages on his answering machine that he never checked. But, I didn't take any offense, right? And so I guess the other point of this story is, I bet 70% of my success is I just don't take offense when people don't get back to me or, don't, sometimes it might not even just acknowledge me, and it's not because of anything other than they read my text when they were on the shitter or something.
Yeah.
Not personal.
But there's so many people that I talk to that like, well, I don't know. I texted them, they never got back to me, or I emailed and they never got back. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I email people fucking 6 times in a row and they don't get back, but then I email them the 7th and we do some cool shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to say, yeah, absolutely, without actively, saying, hey, I want to engage in the fray and get into the mix of this craziness, you can't. But when you do, just make sure that you're contributing something positive, because no one likes the people that are pushing their way in just to learn the tricks, right?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, because I get approached quite a bit about wanting to learn a tattoo and such. You know what I mean? And I've taught a few people here and there, and but those are the people that were willing to give, in my opinion, as much as they could to their craft and to this knowledge that I could give them. You know what I mean? So uh, I agree with you, because there's a lot of people that just they want to come in and they think there's this magic button, like Jason was saying earlier. There's this magic button that you just press, and presto blamo, you got your own shop, you're running it, you're on Instagram, you have like thousands of followers and such. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. You do have to kind of.
It doesn't.
I know, right? Tell me about it. Where was
What
I?
do you mean?
Where was I?
I
But
just thought I missed the handout when people were giving that button out.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel you, Gabe. I know what you're saying. I agree with you. You have to be able to give back to the community and give back to the things that are going to be able to give to you. So I agree with that.
That's about as political as I can get, right?
Right.
Actually, it is one of the things I love about the community here, is that people are here to inspire each other, and each of the places to post something always has a topic. And and again, with guys kind of focus on inspiration and whatnot, it's like I know there's people in the community there that when I'm on Facebook, I'm fucking the hairs in the back of my neck are up. I'm like, let's go, let's do it. And I'm like, wait, nope, that's not what I want out of my computer time. Life's too short, and then I get to see him on Reinventing. I'm like, that's fucking awesome, man. You can't wait to see your next piece.
Mhm.
And, it's a world of difference of the digital experience that we get, right? Anyways, thank you for the kind words about working on the app and all this stuff too, because yeah, wow, thank you for the kind words. It is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Clearly I can't do anything else because it's too much fun.
Now, Gabe, I did have a question for you. What kind of cauldron do you cast your spells in?
Oh,
Like,
I was
is it one of
about to
those
list
cast
off
iron
everything I
ones?
sacrifice. You think I joke about the sacrifices.
No, I know, man.
I won't say anymore. No, the computer gods are fucking horrible, but I've been fighting them, since I was 8, and I guess I'm old enough that actually means something. Nowadays, I'm like, I've been on a computer since I was 8 years old.
Yeah, right.
There's now 3 generations of people that are like, yeah.
Yeah, and I've had an iPhone since I was 6. What's your point?
What is a landline?
Yeah.
I felt like a little bit of a failure that I didn't have a touchscreen kiosk for my daughter when she was an infant. But yeah, by the time she was 8, she had a touchscreen computer, fucking multimedia device in her, with her.
That's unbelievable. It's probably just because I don't have kids, so I can't really relate to that. But yeah, technology is just incredible today.
My daughter's 18 now, so she's going to be gone next year. It's like, oh my god.
Oh boy.
Flies right by, man.
It goes quick. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Especially when they go,
I got nothing.
I know what I'm doing. Just leave me alone.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I have a cat.
Nice.
Does that count?
Yes.
It counts for a pet.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. It's pretty fun, having a kid grow up in the tattoo world's pretty well. Our experience was exceptionally nuts because it was really good for a while and it was really bad for a while, and now it's pretty good. But my daughter got to travel through Europe, and she went over to Venice for the Venice shows, and it's pretty nuts. It's pretty cool. So again, when people rag on tattooing or whatever, I'm like, I don't know. Not only did it take me everywhere, Got my daughter over to some pretty crazy places. Like she traveled more before she was 11 or 12 than I had by the time I was 30, and that stopped. Again, just life is a roller coaster, and that didn't go forever. But those experiences, are all stuck in all of our brains, which is amazing.
Yeah, I never got to go to Europe when I was younger, but I moved around a lot in the U.S. And like when I sit back and tell people like, "Oh yeah, I used to play on glaciers as a kid," they were like,
Mhm.
"What?" Like, yeah, I lived in Alaska for a few years when I was a kid, and they're like, "You're kidding." No, I got home movies to prove it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, the big earthquake in '89 in California. Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
Wow.
I was living in California at that point and scared the hell out of me. And it's like, so I didn't get to experience Europe until much later on, but those experiences that we have as we're growing up really do shape us and who we are.
I mean, if you have them, I mean, I was stuck in
Yeah.
fucking suburban Connecticut until I was 17. I got the fuck out of there right away and traveled, but I don't think I'd gone up to Hartford. Maybe I went out to Colorado once or twice before I was 17, but that was it. I didn't get anywhere till I got out.
What part of Connecticut were you raised in?
Outside of New Haven,
Oh,
so
okay.
I go
Okay.
back there for the pizza. I'll have the taste test between the New York and New Haven pizza any day of the week, every day of the week, really. Something like that is in a contest that can be decided in one round. But yeah, no. Anyway, so outside of New Haven, Connecticut, when I was 17, as soon as I graduated, I flew over to Germany and hitchhiked through Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Czechoslovakia. I think it was Czechoslovakia at the time. It was in '92, so it was maybe a year after the Berlin Wall fell. And that set me on the oh wait, I really do want to travel kind of a kick.
Yeah, I think the Berlin Wall was in '89.
Yep.
Yeah. I lived in New York City around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked about Connecticut is when I was in college, I used to date a girl for about 4 years that lived up in Granby, Connecticut.
Oh yeah, sure.
And like literally at the top of a mountain and beautiful
Mm-hmm.
place, gorgeous house and all that stuff. Um, and it was just it to me it was different. I had never been to Connecticut, until I had met her. So I just knew that it was there and it existed and it was in the Northeast and didn't really know too much about it. And it's a beautiful state to live in, but there's not really too much to do.
Yeah, I didn't like the people all that much, but it was probably mostly the people that I had grown up with, would be my guess. Although the town I was in was fucking shit. It was pretty. It's on the coast. I mean, I guess there's probably a couple decent people there, but I never found them.
Hmm.
There's good tattooers, great tattoo scene down there.
Yeah.
That's where Hope Gallery is, and
Well, I was gonna say, isn't Hope Gallery, that's Joe Cap's place, right?
yeah, that's I mean, that's the scene I grew up with is the New Haven tattoo scene. So like Dark Side Tattoo back in the day, and Eric Merrill
Oh, Eric Merrill, man.
and
His
Baxter.
work
Nick showed up at
Yep.
Dark Side when he was like 6 months into tattooing, maybe.
Wow.
I don't really want to say too much on here, but like right away it was like, holy shit, kid, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I mean, straight up, you have to wait for a guy to die before you fucking can beat him. But like, he was straight on that fucking trajectory of like, I'm gonna fucking kill it, and he did. He
he
does.
is,
His thought process is really it. His brain has got some really good things going for it. Everyone's got their own issues too, of course, but the he's another one where he doesn't want to waste time. He doesn't want to waste thoughts. It seems to me, uh, and so a lot of people think that he comes off as like standoffish or I don't know. I said hi to him, and he didn't really say anything back. And I was like, well, that's because he didn't really say anything. And but on the other hand, like I said, I never took offense. I probably talked to him for like 3 years before he really talked back. But
Yeah,
again,
you
that
really
was
can't.
like 20 some odd years ago at this point. So
I was gonna say you really can't get upset when someone doesn't like immediately open up. You can't. You know, you just kind of have to accept it, and it's like, cool, I'll catch you on the next round. You know?
maybe.
But it will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
So let's see. We've got Mitchell Grigg is saying little effortless hand study while holding the phone. LOL.
Yeah.
Yo, Tony. I guess does somebody know Mitchell? Let's see. Rob was asking if Guy was switching to bigger mags. But so if you're looking for some of those technical questions, that would be specifically probably for the course. Oliver has contacted us about they've been doing German art zooms, so I think that we might have the opportunity to restream one of those through the Reinventing app. So that'd be fun. Germany's fun. I love Germany. Yeah. Marcus, we got to get Marcus back on
Marcus
these
Leonard?
things. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's always got something interesting to share.
Yeah.
His seminars at the Paradise Gathering were incredible.
Yep. We have one of them on the Reinventing.
Yep.
We just
Yep.
got the replay up. That's
I
it's a
saw
little
it
old.
again.
He it's funny sometimes people are like, oh, that's such it's my old seminar, and it's like, yeah, it's old to you, but as somebody was saying earlier, you never know what's going to catch with people, and there's so many new people, and there's always good bits. Some of those seminars, like Jeff's too, you see a couple years later, and you just get different things out of it. You get more out of it. You're farther down that path, so the next time you're hearing the story, there's more nuances that pop out.
Yeah.
It's like watching True Detective season 1 or season 3 for the second time.
No, as
you can't watch that show just once. Like you
No.
have to watch it several times.
Yeah, so good, so fucking good.
It's like when you're learning how to tattoo, for example, you can only have so many questions at first, right? Because you only know so much, but as time goes by and you learn more things, you run into more questions, and so you can get more out of that same information.
Yep.
Well, I think that's also because at first you don't even know what questions to ask. I remember sitting down
Right.
doing my first apprenticeship, and it was like, I don't even know how I would begin to approach asking questions because I don't even know what I'm looking at. So how can I really turn around and say, oh yeah, can you expand on this a little bit more, or go into why you do this like this? Because I didn't
Right.
even know what was going on.
Yep.
I remember my I guess it's completely different, but I remember I talked my way into my first programming job, and then again I was like 17, 18, well maybe it was like 19ish, and I was able to like brute force some things, and then the guy was like, "Can you make tic-tac-toe or whatever?" And I was like, "Okay." And after like 2 or 3 hours, I was like, I can't fucking do this shit. And I'm talking to the guy, and I don't know what the equivalent would be, but he was basically like, use a list, and it would be the equivalent of like use a stencil. And I was like, you could use a stencil? Holy shit! And like completely changed my my world. But I'm completely unschooled at any of this. So like working with people that know what they're doing and to answer the questions is it's pretty fun. I don't know.
Well, then you have to know where to get the information, the appropriate information.
Right.
I think that's always one of the biggest keys to anything, right? Is if you don't know something, that's one thing, but if you don't know where to go to obtain that information,
Yep.
that's a totally different problem. And when
Well,
someone has
to
like a
the
technical
point
tattoo
that you guys were
question,
talking to, like I could go off just as much as everybody about how awesome working with Guy is and how inspirational, and it's like, and I mean, I've been working with him for a long time, so there's times in this last year where I'm like, why the fuck didn't I listen to him when he said that fucking 10 years ago? Like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, I don't even, and especially with shit with like tattoo shops and stuff, it's just like, I don't know, it took him, like I have it out of me. I'm never gonna have a tattoo. My wife would fucking stick a spoon in my neck if I ever had a tattoo shop again. But like I still kind of want to envision. I can still envision. I can't get the visions out of my head, right? And but Guy is just so focused on doing the best that he can for his art and his family that he's like, look, there's all these distractions all the fucking time. Like your job is not to indulge in any. Your job is to avoid them at all costs. At least that's what his job is, right? And and it's really useful. Like also, every once in a while I complain to him. I'm like, man, I'm still getting fucking phone calls. Like, people are telling me that no one searches for tattoos on Google. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, but my fucking phone rings 4 times a day from people on Google looking for tattoos. And I haven't had a tattoo shop in 3 fucking years. And and then Guy would be like, I turn down sleeves every day. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Right. Like, the white trash in me is like money's falling out of the sky. Like, you better fucking collect that shit because it won't, it doesn't fall out of the sky forever. But Guy's very, look, focus on what you want to do, not on what you can do. And yeah,
True.
and this probably couldn't have happened, or this couldn't, like my part of this couldn't be happening if I had a tattoo shop with fucking 30 artists. And I'm way happier doing this than I am doing 30 one-on-ones every month.
That's a really important distinction, man, that sometimes we don't even notice that we're making decisions based on what we think that we should be doing when really we should be doing what we want to be doing, right? Because if you're not, I feel like sooner or later that gas that helps you get through it runs out, right? If it's not really what you want to be doing.
Well, it could be gas, but in my case, it wasn't gas. Like I have an enormous amount of gas, and there was no way that I was slowing down with the fucking shop. Like I was fucking ready to buy that fucking theater building, right? I was ready to hit the next phase and to get going again. But what I had not, growing with demand, and it's so easy to do with tattoos, growing with demand instead of with health was the issue, right? It was like, I can, hire more artists, and do more tattoos at a 20 to 30% growth every year for fucking 12 years. And, but, it doesn't mean, if I hired somebody, my wife was like, what the fuck, you can't be hiring that fucking gossip motherfucker. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, it's okay. They'll change, or everyone's going to get better, whatever. All of a sudden, I didn't run out of gas, and the company didn't run out of energy. We didn't properly vet, and I didn't have proper leadership skills, or a lawyer, and there you go. So again, it wasn't. There's this is what I talk about. It's like it's not any one thing that could potentially take you out. It's anything that could take you out, right? Like, so everyone's test, and we all know this. Everyone's got a unique test, and the more energy you have behind you, the more responsibility that you end up amassing or whatever, then the more deliberate you really need to be with your actions, because they have that much more intensity. And if you're not
right,
aware of your exposure, how much you're putting yourself out there. Well, again, mostly so I guess, sorry, I'm getting a little lost. What I mean to say is everybody's test is going to test their weaknesses. So mine wasn't energy. Mine wasn't the amount of gas. Mine was, being responsible with, judge of character, and and I just honestly don't care about money, right? So I was making millions of dollars. We were generating millions of dollars, and I needed to be. Well, I had an accountant and I had business consultants. Like I thought I paid people to keep it all in order, but because it's just not something that I was really give a shit about. It's not something I really gave a shit about, right? So like those were my issues, and again, I think that everyone's you jack anybody up to 10 and you're going to find out what any of their weaknesses may or may not be. And
sure.
If it's drugs, you're going to do it. You can do all the drugs you want. You can have all the sex you want. You can eat all the food you want. You can be as lazy. And you can make fucking $1,000 a day and only work 2 days a week, right? But like, if you're being a lazy asshole for 5 days a week, then your ceiling lower. Then that's when it's not holistically healthy. To amplify. And
How'd you know how much I make on my OnlyFans a day?
That's nice, man.
Are you one of my subscribers, Gabe?
Put the link up in the chat room, man.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Where's that link at? I want to smash that button.
Yo,
Oh shit. Yeah, man. Well
yeah,
said.
no, I completely agree with what you're saying, Gabe.
Yeah,
It's everyone's
definitely.
got their own downside, and self-awareness is always a big thing in my world, where it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I playing to my strengths or my weaknesses? How am I gonna approach this kind of a situation and that kind of a situation?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't own a studio. I've never wanted to. That's been a world of responsibility I didn't want to take on, because it's something I knew that was not one of my strengths. You know, I don't mind helping people out. I don't mind doing this or doing that, but there is so much work that goes into that. And I know I am not that motivated of a person to do it all. So like I have problems doing laundry every other week, like, so me running a studio, no, not going to happen. Not a good idea. Would not be beneficial in any way. So for me to sit back and talk to people that can do that, it's like I really can't relate. I like to think that I could, but I know for a fact I cannot. Um, but sometimes we all get tested, and our limits become immediately visible as far as what are our own personal weaknesses.
Oh yeah, it's funny. I used to joke with some of the people that do business in a way that I don't necessarily appreciate. And I'd always be like, yeah, I wish the best success for you, so that when you fucking fall, it's a long way down.
Right?
And then the other thing I would always think, I'd be like, when people are, I listen to, Steve Jobs gets fired from from Apple or whatever. You read all the stories about people that do actually lose it all or whatever, or that crash, and I'd always be like, well, that's fucked up. I wonder when my crash is going to come. And sure enough, 3 years later, 4 years later, I'm in like utter free fall, thinking to myself, "Oh man, I know a couple people that are really enjoying watching this right now, motherfuckers." And it's and then I was like, "Oh, and this is where my fucking fall came from, right?" I didn't really even see it coming. I mean, other people saw it coming, and I definitely kind of, subconscious. I mean, in my head, and I said it out loud enough for the years leading up. I was like, man, I could fucking work for a guy in my backyard and make more money with less stress than dealing with all this shit. And I didn't get to make that choice. Again, this is where it was like, and it was a fucked up, and it was sad. It like, because I didn't make that choice for myself, and nature and other people kind of made it for me. Um, it was ugly and painful for a lot of people, and amassing that much energy without, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this, except for fucking, yeah, owning tattoo shops is absolutely 100% fucking nuts. And it wasn't up until maybe a couple months ago. My shit happened like 3 years ago, maybe about 6 months ago. I actually was like, I think that the upside to owning a tattoo shop compared to the liabilities and the exposure, obviously I know a ton of people that own shops, and they're pretty successful with them, and they're pretty cool, but I'm not sure that the headache could ever really possibly be worth the fucking the upside. And it's really sad to say that, for me to say that, especially because I fucking love trying to create environments where tattooers excel. But it's crazy. Anyway, so I'll just skip to going to tattoo event or do producing tattoo events where I could hang out with everybody for a weekend, and then everyone gets to go home. We don't have to do any sort of human resources meetings or anything.
Man, and if it wasn't for these efforts, that these ideas, these visions that you've had, like, we would have not had a lot of great stuff that for me personally, at least, like these paradise gatherings. Like, I've never seen anything like that, other than the paradise gatherings. And like, thank God that that you went with your vision, because man, there's, like I said, there's nothing else like it, and it's just so useful.
Well, I'm the first to admit the first year I did the tattoo gathering, one of my goals was to. I mean, I'm in alignment with guys philosophically and politically already, right? But like one of my goals was like I wanted to make my wife teaches, so it was her with her influence, it was going to be an educational event. I don't like people, so we're going to put it in a ski resort in the middle of nowhere. And then I was like, oh wait, this is it. It's in the middle of nowhere and it's educational. Like, I want Guy to come. I want to make something so cool that that guy wants to go there. And they didn't come the first year. I almost, but not quite. And but the second year when Guy and Michelle showed up, that's really, well, again, it's all, there's all sorts of energies that are going around. Like I said, my wife, has a direct influence on it all because she actually is the teacher, and I'm just I dropped out, or I didn't drop out, but I dropped out of college. Anyways, point being, when Guy came on and Michelle came on the second year of the tattoo gathering, their influence and spirit really kind of solidified the fact that this could be a success, right? And I was done. I wasn't going to do any of an event again after the second year. And Michelle and brought the idea to my wife. Why don't we just do an art retreat where everyone's painting, instead of tattooing? And even then, I was like, "Fuck that!" I mean, I wasn't like, "Fuck that." I was like, "Yes, okay. Well, we'll come back and we'll do a painting thing." But I was so burnt out. I was doing it because I didn't want to lose the opportunity with Guy and Michelle. Um, and it wasn't really until like a month before the art retreat when I was like, "Wait a minute. This is like all the tattooers coming, but there's no clients, right? This like the energy is going to be chill. The amount of learning, is going to be more, right? There's no limitations of skins or clients. I mean, obviously we love all of the magic that goes with tattooing and all that and clients. But to have a space where there weren't any clients, just tattooers creating art with the limitations of the mediums being, wide open comparatively. It was insane. And again, so for a lot of that, obviously, I credit Guy and Michelle for, not only coming up with the idea but ensuring that it happens. I definitely have my own flavors of things and different things that I bring to the table, of course. But ultimately, I'm a amplifier of other people, with a little bit of my own, fingerprint or whatever signature. But if it wasn't for, I mean, I don't draw. If it wasn't for everybody participating and making it happen, then I wouldn't be doing nothing.
Good teamwork, man.
Yeah.
I think that's how us humans do best, when we team up, right? And make things happen. Just the ideas gather.
Could not agree more.
Not always the easiest thing to do, but when it happens, shit happens. Good shit.
Right? Strength in numbers.
But it's about that like-mindedness as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. When you've got a group of people that are all striving for the same goal, that come together to achieve that goal, no matter where they start at or what ideas they're coming to the table with, as long as they're coming to the table with a perspective and a willingness to listen and learn and, give back, and are willing to accept other people and their concepts, their ideas, and to really sit back and reevaluate what they know, and then, pitch in with different ideas and possibilities. That's when you really have the most success with everything in life. Perfect example is, look at the people that started Apple, right? They
Steve
came together
Wozniak.
because they wanted to create. Yeah, Steve Jobs and
Wozniak.
Wozniak. They came together with the idea that they wanted to start this company and sell personal computers, right? And it was a small venture at first, and then boom, look at them now. But that's people coming together that have a common goal and a common drive, that want to achieve the same common outcome.
Well, yeah, and a maniac visionary.
Well, yeah, that is true. That does go into that. But.
And not that I don't know. It's a crazy story. Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, well, there's the movies and the books. I'm not even sure it's really even all that interesting, right? I mean, but Steve Jobs, just as he's not your normal boss, right? It's I mean, and again, the vision that he had, again, and to be able to like borrow from the different pieces parts to put together. I mean, Apple is just a really unique. I mean, clearly a really unique, business that came from the garage there. Um,
I mean, you could really substitute any major company with that, because every major company that's out there had to get started somewhere by someone, and I can almost guarantee you a lot of them were not started up by a whole bunch of people that got together.
well,
Sometimes small
not
teams.
necessarily, right? Like, so, like Steve. I mean, and I guess Steve in particular got kicked out from his, from Apple, right? And
That
it's
is true.
part of the awesome part of the story that he got back in. Um, but I mean, certainly for I mean, the next major business that I start is going to be a fucking, battleship compared to, the tattoo shop that was, built on handshakes and fucking, agreements at the bar, drunk. Uh, that I made when I was a kid. I mean, we literally had our, off the map. We had our fucking our management meeting at the bar, and it was fun at the time, but like it did not set the right precedent, and definitely, in the end, was not healthy. And
So you
so,
learn.
just right there, it's like, uh, you know, so I guess to the point. I mean, obviously, there's as many different types of businesses as there are different types of artists and people. But I might propose that some of the more, some of the most of the longest lasting businesses, were probably not just started up by newbies that, on their first time in business. Obviously there's exceptions, and there's plenty of, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds making really awesome businesses and technologies and whatnot, and all sorts of businesses. Um, and I've watched it. I mean, in tattooing this, I've seen this a million fucking times, right? Like it's way easier to catch lightning than it is to keep it. Like, I mean, the amount of tattoo shops I know that have broken into the millions and then fucking exploded, you know, don't dwarf the number that like are able to keep it, because I know, a fair number of tattoo shops that, have been open for 15 to 25 years. I mean, I just know a lot of tattoo shops. But like they're all deliberate, right? Like, with the exception of maybe Damon Conklin, who's like still fucking pirate shipping fucking 15 people out in Seattle. But even he's gotten a little buttoned down, right? Like, so I guess what I'm going to wrap this up with is like success is way easier to catch than it is to sustain. And generally, the businesses that are able to sustain it have gone through the ringer once or twice, and they know what, they know how to build something with a really strong foundation. On the other hand, nothing could be, it is awesome that, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, I mean, and I was, we could all accomplish so much in our youth. But again, if I had listened to the 40-year-old who was like, make sure you have a really good accountant and an awesome lawyer that's on your side, you know, I'd still have a business, or that business. Um,
Right. But it's inevitable though, right? Like when engaging on anything, I mean, there's things that inevitably you're gonna run into, right? And it's just part of the process, right? That how you learn to do things in a different way according to experience and so on, right? But you still want to go for it, like no matter how many times you run into these situations that you have to learn from. But it's the same thing with like learning how to draw better, right? Like you're gonna run into situations where you're gonna be like, oh fuck, I should have done this like that. I should have remembered what I heard the other day about doing this way. And and it just gradually continues to grow, from the things that didn't go right.
Absolutely. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, um,
It's like inevitable.
although it's easier to, it's one of those fun things. It is way easier to say,
Yeah.
all of our mistakes are really learning lessons in disguise. It's really easy to be like, I'm not attached to things or people. Really easy. It's fun to say, I'm not attached. Practically a Buddhist. But then when, but you put that to the test when all of a sudden,
You're right, man.
you're losing friends of 20 years, when all of a sudden you're losing millions of dollars of business, and you're like, why the fuck did this happen again? Like, and then there's people that are like, I told you shouldn't have done that. And I told you shouldn't have hired so and so, or I told you should have. Yeah, I'm like, oh, you did. Oh, wait, what? Okay, wait. I'm not attached to people or like I'm here, I'm flowing, and I'm here to, this is going back to mission and values or whatever. It's like, wait, I'm here to I think I'm here to amplify positive artists, right? That's what I'm here for. That's my mission, you know. Even though I'm in the middle of a storm, like you know, that's what I want to stay focused on. And I only have to work with the people who want to work with me. I don't have to work with anyone who doesn't. And here we go. You know, it's but again, I guess to the point, it's a really easy, not really easy. It takes a long time to come to the understanding of maybe you know of being able to let go of stuff or even wanting to let go of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but then actually letting go of it's well, like I said, I mean, it took me, you know, there's parts of that tattoo shop that were fucking amazing. And you know, I want a fucking theater building again, you know, where we had rock and roll shows and 300 people. You know, it was like a little mini convention every other fucking week. But
Hmm.
on the other hand, um, I'll go and visit someone else's massive tattoo shop and throw parties there. Come down to Florida, Bruno. We got to get you're pretty close. We got to get to the Dolly Museum. That's the
Yeah,
Florida gem.
I still haven't gotten there, man. Like I don't understand. But yeah, I mean it's all the way up in like
St.
you know,
Pete.
yeah, it's a drive, but yeah, I should have already made it there, man.
Oh, absolutely. There's a
Every
fella, Marcus. Fuck, what's his last name? He just texted me. You dig him? The fuck's his last name?
You said Marcus?
Well, yeah, there's a Marcus, not Marcus Leonard. There's another Marcus who's up there. I forgot his last name, but I got his number here. He was friends with Thea Duskin. Uh, he'd be a good Dolly museum partner. He lives there. He knows the place, and
Oh,
he
nice.
probably has like a membershipy kind of thing.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, man, I gotta put that on my list very soon, actually.
If anyone has an extra $30,000 kicking around, we could throw a big party there.
Let me go
Yeah.
check my change drawer real quick.
I'll go couch surfing,
Yeah.
lift up my cushions and see if I can find some money under there. Bruno, what part of Florida are you in again?
I'm in right now I'm in Miami.
Okay.
But I also work at Stefano's tattoo studio in Fort Lauderdale. It's
Okay.
about 45 minutes away. And
That's
I was
awesome,
gonna
man.
say I'm trying to
great
plan a trip to visit my parents. They're down in Cocoa Beach, which is like in between the two, if I remember correctly. In between Fort
Cocoa
Lauderdale and
Beach,
Miami,
it's actually
or is that more north?
5 hours away. It's a
Ooh,
great
okay,
place. Yeah, it's a lovely
that's a
surf
bit.
town. Great surf town, man. Like I love that place. And there is a tattoo shop there. I forgot the name. But that is like 5 hours away from Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, it's a little bit up there. That's where your family's at?
Yeah, that's they moved there a couple of years ago, and you know they got a little condo there that that's where they stay and all that stuff, and it's nice. It works for them. They love it. And more power to them.
It's a nice, peaceful town, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's their little slice of heaven.
For
I like to
sure.
say. So. But I was actually looking into a couple of different studios down there in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, man.
See,
Like maybe you can do a little guest spot at Stefano's.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe do some live webcasting from Florida. I mean,
Cool.
heck,
Who's
I'd
else is
even
down
be down to
there?
rent a car and come down and visit you.
Yeah, man. That would be awesome. That would be awesome, man.
Who else is? Where's Bruno? You know where Phil Holt is?
It's in Ybor City, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
With Phil Holt. What's the name of the studio? It's fucking sick. He's awesome. Man. All his crew's cool.
Red Letter.
Red Letter. There we
One.
go. Red Letter
Yeah.
1.
Those dudes are awesome.
Oh, where's that? Is that Miami?
Nah. What do you say? Ybor City?
Ybor City, yeah. I think it's Ybor City.
Tampa.
Oh.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I haven't been around that area either, actually.
I'll fire him up real quick. He's yeah, Phil, Jeff. These guys are all
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's killer, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's fucking killer.
Boom.
Yeah, that shit is so just sick.
Oh, damn.
Let's see here.
Philip Holt is incredible.
I guess
Yeah.
we'll just hit the Instagram here and see what his latest. Oh, that's funny. Okay, let's see. Ah, look at that!
Wow, dude. How did I not hear of this guy?
Fucking.
That's pretty bitchin'.
Yeah,
Holy fuck.
Right?
I'm sure
Yeah.
it is.
There's
Yeah.
a uniqueness to it that is very evident.
Yeah, he's always been fucking.
Like you could see some of the influences, but at the same time, like in his unique way of expressing it.
Yeah, Curtis Burgess, that guy's fucking sick too.
Yeah, Curtis
Wow.
Burgess is awesome.
I'm gonna fire him up next.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, look at
It's
this.
so good, man.
Shit.
Yo,
Welcome to the life of Procreate, right?
is that's digital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Rad.
Bam.
Yeah, he did all of that in Procreate.
And they say that you can't have any soul in digital.
Savage, man.
I know, right?
But of course, you know, he could do it in whatever medium he's hitting
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, his water, the way he does the water is like that bioorganic kind of influence to it, man. It's incredible.
Well,
Yeah.
he hustled with like Adrian Lee and the he was
Yeah.
in Soul
So
Collector
Gabe,
back in the day.
Gabe, go back up a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, even those suits, man, just crazy.
There was one thing I wanted to point out on those waves on the left,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of like, you know, some very deep perspective and priority, you know, features.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of hard to like zoom in on that, but if you look carefully, right, and if you go to his Instagram and whatnot and really pull it up, you'll notice that he's putting a big black perimeter line around those areas of the waves that he really wants to come forward.
Right.
Got
Yeah.
very selective use of black for his cast shadows. And then as these lines actually move backwards, you see them start to fade from like a black to a gray. You know,
Yeah.
and he's gray lining a lot of it, and it's just an
Oh, yeah.
incredible piece.
Good observation there.
Yeah, that's actually one of the primary reference images I use for waves. I took a screenshot of it and I like zoom in and I'm like, okay, what can I do to make these waves have a bit more perspective or a bit more priority to them? And every single time I bring that up and I'm just like, ah, there's a trick I missed.
Yeah. Yeah, that like tapered line that kind of forces your eye back with the
Bingo.
movement. Yeah. The tapered line, man, it's crazy. And then the grays compared to the blacks are just like that separation between those two tones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's sick. And it's embossed. and
Holy
everything.
crap, man.
Look at that.
Yo.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about like a tattoo chair that he has where it angles all over the place, where he barely has to lean over when he's working on pieces on people and stuff like that too. That's been the rumor anyway.
Yeah, him
Like-
and maybe it's the extensions. I know that Adrian Lee's got a massage table extension, so it lifts up the massage table so that you can tattoo while you're standing.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm sure that it's a similar-ish. Yeah, actually, this is a pretty badass series too. Then we'll go on to Curtis.
Yeah, it's great, man.
That's all watercolor too.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
That's
Spot
good.
right now.
Okay, Curtis Burgess for people who don't know Curtis. Ah!
Yeah, some like super electric colors, like some 80s just slapping your face with it. The color scheme from those old skateboards and stuff, man.
Fuck, look at that.
That's sick.
Yeah.
No, man.
And Jason,
Exaggerate.
yeah. And you're talking about that golden ratio, the golden means, Jason
Bingo.
or Jesse. Yeah, there it is, dude.
Huh.
There it is. It's like strong in these for sure. Like that one
Oh,
in particular.
absolutely.
Like that one's like straight. That's that one. There you go again. It's all
It's
yeah.
almost like you could overlay that golden spiral right on top of most of those pieces and
Yeah.
have it fit seamlessly.
Yeah. That back piece for sure. Yeah, just all those underlying angles and everything, those intersecting lines.
Mm-hmm. How you can really move the eye around based on, color and form, focus, out of focus, where you put your primary focal point.
Mm-hmm.
Those black lines are really guiding you
Yep.
into seeing what's there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man, I'm super impressed.
What's up with that skull on that hand? That was crazy looking. There you go.
Yo.
Yeah, those like weird oxblood or like pinkish tones into that light blue is just what the hell, man? That's wild.
I really like the way those are really nice and muted down to really allow those like steel blues to come forward.
Mm-hmm. And that graphic, those graphic, like that graphic view of those lines and everything too.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Oh, Schmoley, it's 3:30. Hey, why don't we
Yeah.
do a little bit of a wrap up, and then we do this every Sunday, so we can
I know,
probably,
right?
well, as you were saying, we could probably do this for the rest of the evening, but we probably shouldn't. It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my cat's probably getting pissed off at me for not spending time with her, so.
Nice. Ricardo, I'm going to spotlight you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, man. My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. I tattoo in Normal, Illinois. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys, man. Gabe's nice to meet you. Everybody else on the chat, what's up? And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Cheers. Can you show us what you were working on?
Yeah, let me grab it real quick. Hang on one second. I was working on a couple things. I was just playing around mostly.
Cool.
I got this little watercolorish. Just kind of threw it together real fast, and then I was working on this. Let's see. There's some of the building blocks of it. Made it real painterly first, and then I was working on this this Star Wars thing from earlier today.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been trying to do some underpainting stuff with the Procreate app just to see what it would turn out like. Playing around with some different brushes and everything. There you go.
Sweet.
Well, yeah.
Definitely looks like somebody. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Bruno, replace spotlight. Okay.
Cool. Well, I'm Bruno Salvatierra, and you can find me on Instagram on Prismas_art. And I'm here in Miami, Florida, also in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at Stefano's Tattoo Studio. And let me flip the image here. Just kind of working on my exercise, my Monday night exercise with the priority exercise. Just still about probably halfway or less, but gonna keep on going at it.
Awesome. Cool. And Jason.
Hey, everyone. Jason Leeser. You can find me on Instagram at Philly Ink. I work at a little studio called the Inkwell in Southampton, PA. It's about 30 minutes north of Philadelphia. Always happy to have everyone on here, and always happy to get some awesome feedback. Ricardo, Bruno, thank you guys for jumping in today. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on. We always have some great conversations. Gabe, thank you very much for being the man behind the curtain. The work you put in does not go unappreciated. Just wanted to mention that. You can find us on here every Sunday at 1 p.m. East Coast time. And we're always looking for other people to jump in and, give us some different perspectives and start some new discussions and, see how things go.
Awesome.
So, yeah, thanks for tuning in today.
Cheers. Well, thanks again, everybody. And thanks, for everybody for everything. It's exciting. It's what keeps it happening. I'm going to share the screen and show off the courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. So if you're a tattooer or an apprentice, you can check out, you can't learn to tattoo here, but you could probably learn to tattoo a little better. Yeah, Reinventing the Tattoo Canon is Guy's main book, but there's also all these other different courses that you should check out when you have the time, especially if you're an apprentice. The How to Build a Paul Rogers Style Prefab Tattoo Machine. He's building a tattoo machine with hand tools. It's probably one of the more difficult things you can do, but man, it looks fucking awesome. Anyways, thanks again for tuning in, and we will catch up tomorrow morning. Every Monday morning, 9 o'clock Eastern, is the next Reinventing Drawing Group with Jake Meeks from